Chapter 3022. Interesting. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head with a smile when he noticed Lu Yan's expression. Lu Yan was clearly anxious, yet pretending to be calm. He definitely wasn't in the mood to talk about this with others. There was no need. It was better to just listen to this sort of gossip. As for the Master of Judgment, he already had quite a grudge with her. He wasn't one of those lackeys who would immediately go and tell on the Master of Judgment whenever he heard something bad about her. Reincarnate her. That'd make Yi Zichen rather concerned. I didn't expect the Ancestral Dragon clan to have someone born with memories of their past lives. Of course, he wasn't sure if what Lu Yan said was true or not. It was fine to just listen. It didn't matter if it was true or not. No matter how much he praised the Master of Judgment, the grudge between him and the Master of Judgment could not be erased. Even if he said something bad about her, it wouldn't affect his decision. Didn't the Milky Way Lord put the Master of Judgment on the spot? If one day, he also wanted to feel what it felt like to step on the Master of Judgment's face. Bully him? Anyone who bullied him didn't have a good ending. Some people were worthy of being reformed. She wasn't worthy of some people. Don't worry, I won't go so far as to tell others. Yi Zichen shrugged. I'm a very tight-lipped person, so it's over with me. Of course, if you tell anyone else, then it has nothing to do with me. You're the first, Lu Yan said softly, and you might be the only one. Oh, is that so? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows in surprise. Then I'm rather honored. It's nothing. There are some things that I can't say to the people around me. You're just a passerby I met by chance. I won't feel any psychological burden telling you, Lu Yan said in a low voice. Yi Zichen's point of view was very similar to his. Yi Zichen had the same thought when he told Lu Yan about his troubles. You two seem to be having a good chat. A cold voice suddenly sounded out beside Yi Zichen and Lu Yan's ears. Yi Zichen looked up, and they saw Su Luer stare at them with a cold, piercingly cold smile. Lu Erjie, you're back? Yi Zichen smiled coyly. How was it? Did the Ironback Black Bull King's soul return to the underworld? You still remember the Ironback Black Bull King? Asked Su Luer. How could I forget what you said? Laughed Yi Zichen. Big Sister Luer, don't overthink it. I trust you. I believe you can definitely deal with that animal. It would be strange if Su Luer believed Yi Zichen's nonsense. She didn't know yet. Yi Zichen and Lu Yan definitely chatted. She had been listening on the side for nearly 5 minutes. Actually, she heard most of what Lu Yan said about reincarnation and the vile actions of the ruling master. That's right, eavesdropping. He did it on purpose. Who didn't have a bit of a love for gossip? When she heard the two of them gossiping, Su Luer purposely made no sound at all. Instead, she cocked her head and stuck out her ear to eavesdrop. She only spoke when she felt that there was no more gossip to listen to. How could Yi Zichen not know what Su Luer's cold smile meant? He really had slipped away just now. Actually, there was a very important point. He felt that Su Luer's frozen star was more than enough to deal with the Ironback Black Bull King. He didn't need to worry at all. That was the truth. Su Luer was standing there unscathed, but the Ironback Black Bull King. You actually came out? Lu Yan started acting dumb. You didn't run either. Didn't the frozen star bury you inside? How did you get out? What the hell was going on in his head? Su Luer had released the frozen stars, and now she was buried and unable to get out? Didn't that mean that those who used fire had to burn themselves to death, and those who used lightning had to strike themselves first? Was there something wrong with them? I didn't think you'd be so good with words, said Su Luer with a friendly smile. Su Luer smiled kindly. Now that the leader of the Ironback Azure Bulls has been dealt with, can we compete now? Dealt with? Lu Yan frowned. After that, he looked ahead. A huge planet formed by ice elements was embedded in the ground, and bone-piercing cold air was released from the ice. As for the Ironback Black Bull King, it was nowhere to be seen. What else? Murmured Su Luer. Big sis, aren't you underestimating the Ironback Black Bull King too much? Lu Yan smiled wryly. Its life force is very tenacious. You're saying it's not dead? Su Luer frowned. Yi Zichen instinctively released his energy to probe Lu Yan's surroundings. Lu Yan shrugged, but said nothing. Then he saw Yi Zichen nod at Su Luer. It really wasn't dead. He'd sensed the energy fluctuations of the ironback Black Bull King. Don't say it wasn't dead. You could even say it was alive and well. Before long, the 10-kilometer-wide planet of ice began to tremble slightly. Seeing this, Sulur narrowed her eyes. The ironback Black Bull King. When it's not in a berserk state, it's as strong as Kaiyun. The primary trial zone suppresses its strength to the human realm. If you can instantly kill it, you can take over the position of master of adjudication. Lu Yin smiled and shrugged. From his expression, it was possible to sense a hint of a smile. It wasn't a mocking smile. It was purely a kind reminder, and also a joking tone to tell the truth. It's not dead. Then I'll give it another one. Sulur snapped her fingers again, and all the surrounding ice element gathered in the air. This time, rumble. The surrounding earth suddenly began to tremble, and space itself tore apart, becoming extremely unstable. Faintly, one could see cracks forming in the world. Don't continue. In the distance, behind Ming Xiang, Gu Chang and his guards were shouting as they ran towards them. What is it? Sulur stared intently at them. She always wore this cold expression when dealing with outsiders. This is the primary trial zone. The space here isn't particularly stable. The frozen star you just dropped was already the limit of what this place can withstand. If you drop another one, this world will collapse. Ming Xiang furrowed her brows. Sulu's brows sank as well. The spatial cracks around the trial zone grew larger and larger, and the opening grew wider and wider. In the distance, the ironback Azure Bull Chieftain, who was pressed under the frozen star, struggled to get out of the frozen star. Sulur glanced at it, then scolded it coldly. What does this have to do with me? With that, she snapped her fingers again, determined to do as she pleased. Suddenly, a golden afterimage flashed by. A golden afterimage flashed past. An array of golden light spread out in the surrounding space that had already cracked open. Then, a ray of golden light shot into the space. The frozen planet that was about to condense instantly dispersed into ice element, returning to the various areas of the primary trial zone. You juniors, why do you always like to cause trouble for others? Soon after, everyone saw a man wearing golden armor and a golden mask sitting on a throne. Around him stood 4 silver-armored and silver-masked guards, who were holding his throne up high. Gu Chang hurriedly knelt on the ground, while Ming Xiang followed suit and bowed. Greetings, Master Sloth. Chapter 3023. The Lord of Sloth. A hero. The hero had actually come to the trial grounds in person. Before Ezichin could react, he saw at least 30 people suddenly appear from every direction, all of them shouting at the hero on the throne. Greetings, Lord of Sloth. Where did these people come from? Ezichin's eyes widened in shock. He hadn't realized there were so many people here. Everyone bowed to the hero on the throne. Only Ezichin's group and Lu Yin remained standing on the plains. They didn't kneel or bow. Thud! The throne was slammed heavily onto the plains. The Lord of Sloth, who was leaning lazily, nearly fell off his chair. Are you guys stupid? The Lord of Sloth glared at the silver-armored guard, then patted his golden armor, then straightened his mask. This Lord of Sloth is a little funny, muttered Ezichin. Lu Yin nodded non-committally. He's always been like this. You'll get used to it. Ahem. Ming Xiang coughed softly, as if to remind Ezichin and Lu Yin not to gossip. That golden armor of his looks pretty valuable. Lu Yin paid no heed to Ming Xiang's warning. He pursed his lips and frowned. If we can pluck it off and sell it, it'll fetch at least 1,800. The Lord of Sloth, who'd just straightened his mask, twitched his mouth. Laozi's armor is a pseudo-creation god artifact. You're telling me it'll fetch 1,800? I really have to thank you. I can't believe you're offering such a high price. I can hear what you're saying. Can you be a little quieter? Muttered the Lord of Sloth. Lu Yin, who was still examining his armor, hurriedly shut his mouth and smiled. Greetings, Lord of Sloth. Huh. The Lord of Sloth smiled insincerely and waved his hand, then turned to the others who'd greeted him. Get up, everyone. I'm so tired. Only after hearing the Lord of Sloth's orders did the others stand up. You don't have to do this with me, muttered the Lord of Sloth. The Lord of Sloth said in a low voice, I guess you know, I'm different from other heroes. I don't like those complicated formalities. It's too troublesome. I'm not here for anything else. Son, my hero guard told me that I'm on duty at the elementary trial this year. You guys, if you want to fight, then fight. But can you not destroy the trial grounds? It's very troublesome to maintain it, and I hate troublesome people. I just want to sit here peacefully. Don't torture me, okay? The Lord of Sloth was extremely vexed. From his name, one could tell that he represented laziness and indolence. If he could not move, he would try not to move. If he could avoid trouble, he would try his best to avoid trouble. He could sit on his throne for 100 years. He didn't feel sick of it at all. If it weren't for the fact that heroes had to be at their posts and that heroes also had to consider some issues of dignity, he would have liked to lie down in his hero palace and work. No, he didn't need to work either. Knowing that he was too lazy to work, the other heroes shared his duties. How lazy could he be? It had been almost 30 years since he last attended the hero assembly that was held once every 10 years. Hey, can you guys give me a response? The slothful lord leaned on the chair and tilted his head. Especially you, that exceptionally beautiful junior. Sue Lure furrowed her brows and glanced around. I'm talking about you, said the Lord of Sloth. You don't even have the slightest bit of self-confidence. Why are you still looking around? With you here, who's worthy of the word beautiful? Thank you for the praise, murmured Sue Lure as she bowed. Don't. Stop bowing, sighed the Lord of Sloth. The Lord of Sloth sighed and said, watching you bow makes me feel tired. Let me remind you, I've already repaired the void you shattered just now. Can you stop doing that kind of thing? Please, I'm begging you, all right? You're a rather beautiful junior. Yes, senior. Sue Lure nodded slightly. But we need to get rid of that Ironback Azure Bull King. He's our trial target. Ironback Azure Bull King. Before the Lord of Sloth could finish speaking, the Ironback Azure Bull King, who'd been crushed beneath Bing Xing, suddenly pushed Bing Xing away and roared angrily. Before it could roar for too long, it was stunned. A hero. Although the Ironback Azure Bull King was a ferocious beast, they recognized the ancestral Dragon Clan's hero. Why had the hero come to the elementary trial grounds? That's it. The Lord of Sloth arched his brows at the Ironback Azure Bull King. When it saw the Lord of Sloth, the Ironback Azure Bull King broke out in a very human-like cold sweat. Then it prostrated itself on the ground, fear and trembling in its eyes. What was the meaning of this? Was the hero talking to those lowly humans? That's right. These heroes were the human race's protective umbrella. Why was he asking this? It couldn't be. The hero wanted to attack it, right? No way. Weren't heroes supposed to care about such things? The Ironback Azure Bull King trembled in fear. Sue Lure nodded noncommittally. That's it. You nearly destroyed the elementary trial grounds for it. The Lord of Sloth frowned. That can't be, right? Isn't it just the Ironback Azure Bull King? Was there really a need to go to such lengths? The Lord of Sloth glanced at the Ironback Azure Bull King. There's something off about the Ironback Azure Bull King's strength. Aren't the settings? Before he could finish speaking, the silver-armored guard moved closer to his ear and whispered a few words. The Lord of Sloth's expression instantly filled with surprise. He glanced at Sue Lure and Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen sensed his gaze. If he wasn't mistaken, the silver-armored guard was probably informing the Lord of Sloth why the Ironback Azure Bull King was in this state. It was because of Yi Zichen and the other's difficulty level. The Lord of Sloth raised his hand at the guard, then spoke in a lazy tone. He's your trial target? Yes. Can we kill him in a different way? We can, but it's a bit troublesome. I don't like trouble, muttered Sue Lure. If we can end this sooner, why drag it out? Besides, the destruction of the trial grounds is your fault. It has nothing to do with me. That makes sense. The Lord of Sloth nodded in agreement when he heard that. I don't like trouble either, so how about this? I'll take care of him for you. Take the mission item and hurry up and leave. Don't torture me. Instantly, everyone was dumbfounded. The Ironback Azure Bull King, still prostrated on the ground, stared intently at the Lord of Sloth with wide eyes. What the hell? The hero wants to do it himself? Chapter 3024. Bully others? No. Wasn't that the same as bullying a vicious beast? The primary training area existed for students. People who had graduated from a school or were not part of the school could not come here. This was to ensure the fairness of the trial here. The Sloth Lord had come here, and that was fine. But now he wanted to kill it for the humans. The Ironback Azure Bull wouldn't accept this. It wouldn't even accept death. It was like two first graders were fighting, and then a college student suddenly popped up and said, "I'll beat up that first grader for you." Bullying the weak. Ming Xiang looked up at the Sloth Lord in astonishment. Why would a hero care about such things? She subconsciously glanced at Su Lua. She couldn't deny that even as a woman herself, she was astonished by Su Lua's peerless beauty. She couldn't imagine that such a beautiful woman existed in the world. But a hero wouldn't go so far as to deliberately take care of others for the sake of beauty, right? Could it be? Could one really do whatever they wanted just because they were good-looking? Little did they know, the Sloth Lord really hadn't thought about any of this. He'd simply considered how troublesome it would be. The way he saw it, it would be far easier for him to deal with the Ironback Azure Bull King than let Su Lua and the others take the trial items and leave, than for them to fight and him to repair the damaged space. He didn't like trouble. He'd already repeated this countless times. He just wanted to deal with these problems, then hurry back to his palace and take a nap. Beauty? What did that have to do with him? He was already a hero. He'd long since lost interest in such things. To put it mildly, he'd already severed all ties with the world of mortals. All he wanted was to be a salted fish hero. Every day, he sat lazily on his throne, not thinking about how strong he could become. He wasn't like the master of judgment, sin, or justice, or the other heroes who cared about their status and strength. He didn't like forming cliques, either. Coincidentally, none of the other heroes came looking for him either. It was as if they'd all reached a consensus. They'd let the Sloth Lord roam free and unfettered. None of them coveted the position of Sloth Lord. As a result, the Sloth Lord didn't feel the pressure of competition and became even lazier and lazier. Perhaps, even if there really was someone who wanted to catch up to him, he was too lazy to care about it. Unfortunately, as soon as he finished speaking, the silver-armored guards around him quickly gathered around him. From their expressions, it could be seen that they seemed to be telling the Sloth Lord about the rules of the trial grounds, as well as some rules that he could not personally destroy the trial, as well as a series of consequences that would occur in the future. So troublesome. The Lord of Sloth frowned slightly, his eyes filled with exhaustion. Now, whenever he thought about the silver-armored guard's words, he could feel a heavy pressure on his chest, making it hard for him to breathe. So tired. In just a few minutes, he felt like he was going to die of exhaustion. Can I apply for it? Find someone to accompany me. I don't want to care about this elementary training ground anymore. The Lord of Sloth didn't bother to hide his words. Everyone around him could hear him clearly. Hero, the beginner training area is already the least troublesome job. Can I just skip work? The silver-armored guard's voice faltered. The role of the hero was to maintain the stability of the ancestral dragon clan and to solve the problems of the ancestral dragon clan. If he didn't do his job, how could he be a hero? Of course, he would never dare to say that out loud. It wasn't that he was afraid of the dignity of the hero, but he believed that if he said that, their hero would really choose to give up his position as the Lord of Sloth and become an ordinary person. He would definitely do that. This kind of thing had happened before. At that time, the Lord of Sloth was overwhelmed by the heavy workload. In fact, his workload was already 1/10 of the other heroes, but he still found it troublesome and ran away from the hero Altar of Sloth. That's right, he ran away. The guards were all panicking. They searched for him all over Hero City. In the end, when they found him, their Lord Hero was lying on the grass, sleeping soundly. When they dragged him back, he kept saying that he wanted to abdicate. He wanted the next hero to take over his position. He didn't want to do it anymore. In the end, all the heroes of Hero City came. The heroes of the various altars brought guards with them. With the Master of Judgment and the Master of Justice as the leaders, they tried to persuade him. The Master of Justice and Justice even shared more than 70% of the work for him. The rest were also claimed by the other heroes. In the end, the Lord of Sloth left them with the job of taking turns to guard the trial grounds. These guards were the ones who took care of this job for him. If the trial grounds hadn't been destroyed, the guards wouldn't have had the right to repair them. They wouldn't have bothered the Lord of Sloth. Forget it. It's hard on you too. The Sloth Lord shook his head at his guards in an understanding manner. It must be tough being my guards. No, it's our honor to serve the Lord of Sloth. That's true. The Lord of Sloth nodded noncommittally. You're actually the leftovers of the other heroes. If you don't come to me, you'll have nowhere else to go. Rather than leave Hero City and become ordinary people, you might as well stay here and be low-level officials, right? Lord of Sloth, you really know how to talk. We don't even know what to say anymore. The silver-armored guard fell silent. The Lord of Sloth slowly raised his head. That's a pretty little girl. Lord of Sloth, I have a name. Su Luer frowned. I am Su Luer. That's not important. The Lord of Sloth shook his head, then gestured at the leader of the Ironback Azure Bulls. How long will it take for you to finish your tasks? Otherwise, you can give up and come back in half a year. By then, I'll be assigned to another region. If we don't finish this trial, we can't continue on to the others. There's such a thing? The Lord of Sloth sighed helplessly. Then what do you say? I'm already exhausted. Can you think about me? Look, I won't use my status as a hero to pressure you. Let's just treat each other as friends and understand each other. What does the hero want us to do? The sooner we finish, the better. How long do you want? Within half an hour. No problem. Su Luer didn't hesitate. She cracked her neck, her eyes flashing with a piercing light as she looked at the prostrating Ironback Azure Bull. I will finish this trial within half an hour. Don't condense any more ice elements. Repairing them is troublesome. Hey! Su Luer's expression instantly froze. I can't use ice elements. I specialize in the ice element. Do you want me to play rock, paper, scissors? If I can't use ice, am I supposed to play rock, paper, scissors? Chapter 3025. I can't use ice. Su Luer froze before she'd even taken 2 steps. She looked up at the golden-masked man on the throne. Do you specialize in the ice element? Murmured the Lord of Sloth in embarrassment. I'm not saying that you can't use it at all, but you have to hold back a little. You can't do something like condensing 30 or 40% ice element like that again. The space in the elementary trial area isn't stable. If you keep doing that, it'll break open again. Why can't you ancestral dragons stabilize the trial area? Su Luer frowned. Su Luer's temper flared. She was an empress. She'd always done whatever she wanted. Who would dare say no to her? When she saw that this was the ancestral dragon clan, she gave a hero face and referred to herself as a junior. Now, the hero was restricting her output. Don't be unhappy, said the Lord of Sloth with a shrug. Lord of Sloth shrugged and said, I've told the other heroes about this. They all think there's no need. You call me lazy, but I don't want to do anything. Didn't I end up like this? Just give me some face and restrain yourself a little. How about that? For a mighty hero to put it this way, and even sound a little pleading, from start to finish, he sounded like he was negotiating. It was fair to say that he no longer cared about his reputation as a hero. He'd never taken being a hero seriously. Perhaps other heroes felt that heroes needed to put on airs, but he'd never had that sort of mentality. What was so valuable about face? Getting rid of trouble was even more vexing. Okay? Su Luer pursed her lips and didn't know how to respond. You don't hit a smiling face. A mighty hero was already like this. If she didn't let it go, it would only make her seem rude. Besides, she was well aware of her own status and position. If the hero really wanted to force her to do something, she might not be able to resist. Really, the Lord of Sloth's eyes suddenly lit up. Don't you have a lot of people on your side? Hurry up and finish the trial, then hurry back. It's getting dark, time to sleep. Big Sister Luer, let's do as the Lord of Sloth says, murmured Yi Zichin. AI, that's more like it. The Lord of Sloth smiled happily, then looked at Yi Zichin with satisfaction. That handsome fellow over there, I admire you. Thank you for your kindness, slothful master. Yi Zichin said softly. No problem, no problem. The Lord of Sloth waved his hand and laughed. Try to persuade your sister. I believe that you can end the battle within half an hour. Unity is strength. Do your best. In truth, Yi Zichen was rather impressed that a hero could go so far as to become the Lord of Sloth. He might not have come into contact with many heroes, but in his eyes, heroes should care about their image. However, he did not feel anything from the Lord of Sloth at all. It was the kind of undisciplined, lazy, cynical look that didn't care about anything. This was in line with his title as a hero. Laziness. Big Sister Lu, let's work together and finish off the Ironback Azure Ox leader as soon as possible. Yi Zichen muttered softly, then kicked Lu Yan. You come and help too. Do you still need me? Lu Yan was surprised. Otherwise, do you still want to idle around? Yi Zichen frowned. Wait for us to be exhausted, and then take oxtail from us? Friend, this is not how you handle things. Nonsense. Am I that sort of person? Lu Yan shrugged with an embarrassed smile after his intentions were seen through. I'm just thinking about it. You and your sister-in-law are enough. What's more, I'm not cooperating with you guys, so it might backfire. So you're still thinking about us, murmured Yi Zichen. Of course. Fine, then go by yourself. Yi Zichen shrugged. You just said it yourself. We're not cooperating. If that's the case, then go by yourself. Big Sister Lu, and I won't hold you back. Hey, what's going on? Don't. Lu Yan hurriedly shook his head. How can I beat it by myself? I'm not your sister-in-law, who can summon an ice star with a wave of my hand. I'm no match for it. Then come with us. Yi Zichen glared at him in annoyance. Fine, fine, Lu Yan muttered unwillingly. He really didn't want to get involved. He just wanted to wait for Yi Zichen and Su Lu to finish off the Ironback Azure Bowl, then steal the oxtail and run. That way, the oxtail would be his, and he wouldn't get caught by Su Lu. He wasn't in the mood to fight her at all. Too ridiculous. Even heroes were alarmed by this woman. One could imagine just how terrifying she was. No worries. I'll just slack off a bit. Preserving strength is the way of a king. Lu, urge you, what do you say? After dragging Lu Yan, who had ulterior motives, in, Yi Zichen asked Su Lu, for her opinion. Up to you. Even if Su Lu didn't want to admit it, the true strength of her ice attacks was the kind that were wide open. In other words, the frozen star. The Lord of Sloth restricted the strength of her attacks. This caused her overall strength to drop by at least 40%. It would be rather troublesome to deal with the Ironback Azure Bowl leader alone, but teaming up wasn't a bad decision. During this time, Yi Zichen sent Su Lu a message on his identity card. That brat Lu Yan isn't being honest. I reckon that he'll either slack off or play dirty tricks on us. I can tell. Su Lu replied very quickly. But you two really do have a plastic brotherly relationship. I saw you two chatting so passionately just now, and now you're going to betray each other? How can you say it's a betrayal? It's better to prevent it than to nip it in the bud. Yi Zichen replied. Tell me, what do you want me to do? I'll be the main attacker later. I'll do my best to deal with the Ironback Azure Bowl chief. Keep an eye on that brat. Didn't you want to fight him as well? If he does anything to us, just open fire at him. If he slacks off, then we'll both go easy on him and let that stupid cow look for him. Sure. Yi Zichen exited from the identity card page, then patted Lu Yan's shoulder. Old Lu, let's work together. Don't worry. Lu Yan patted his chest. Lu Yan thumped his chest loudly. Who are we? When the time comes, we can slowly discuss the ownership of the oxtail after we deal with the Ironback Green Bull. There's no need to fight. That's right, we're all brothers. Su Lu smiled insincerely as she watched the two of them feign civility. Then she glanced at the people around her. Let's finish this quickly. There are too many people here. I don't like being stared at. Yeah. Where did these people come from? Yi Zichen frowned. I didn't even notice. When did so many people hide here? They're all here for Su Lu, right? Murmured Lu Yan. They're probably here to recruit us. Chapter 3026. Red Packet Server, Chapter 3021. Accepting a disciple, troublesome. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 3027. Red Packet Server, Chapter 3022. Who are these sisters? Currently typing, please wait for a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 3028. I'll stall as long as I can. That was Lu Yan's true thoughts. Only an idiot would do something like hitting a rock with an egg. He clearly knew that Su Lu was a great demon king, yet he still insisted on competing with her. That was clearly an unwise decision. As a human with no brain damage and no brain damage, he couldn't do something so stupid. Lu Yan took a deep breath and tried his best to make his expression appear serious and sincere. He had to agree. If Su Lu didn't agree, then he would have to run back to the safe zone, even if he had to risk his life. All right. After a brief silence, Su Lu looked him up and down, then nodded. Thank you, Lu Urjia, for not killing me. Lu Yan was extremely grateful. Just a moment ago, he felt like he had already taken half a step into the gates of the underworld. Yi Zichen couldn't help but laugh when he saw Lu Yan's expression. Understood. He really did understand Lu Yan's state of mind. Competing with Su Lu was no different from walking through the gates of life and death. Even Yi Zichen felt his scalp tingle when he saw her ice element. Boring. Su Lu twitched her mouth. She really didn't like this sort of opponent who begged for mercy. Lu Yan laughed dryly in response. He didn't say anything else. Yes, Lu Urjia, keep thinking like that. I'm a really boring person. I'm a complete coward. It's best if you directly feel like I'm not worthy of being your opponent. I'm not afraid of being humiliated. Face. What kind of bullshit is face? I don't need it. You can look down on me, spit on me, insult me, but don't treat me like a human. What time tomorrow? Just as Lu Yan was jumping with joy, Su Lu's words pulled him back to the stage of despair. What's going on? According to what Brother Yi said, shouldn't Su Lu have lost interest in me? What time? She still wants to compete? I can tell that you're an expert, at least on par with me. You don't need to pretend to be afraid. Su Lu glanced at Yi Zichen. Su Lu glanced at Yi Zichen. He's right. I don't like people with no backbone, but I can tell that you're pretending. Although I'm sick of it, I still want to fight you. Oh my God, an expert. How could he tell? Could it be that the words, I'm an expert, are written on my face? What was going on? No. Why do you insist on competing with me? Lu Yan was on the verge of collapsing. There's so many young talents and experts in the ancestral dragon clan. If you really like to fight, can I introduce you to some people? You go fight with them. I don't like to get beaten up. All right, introduce me. Su Lu nodded. Then you. Our duel will proceed as scheduled. Fine. If it was a blessing, it wasn't a curse. If it was a curse, it couldn't be avoided. All right, let's do it tomorrow. You set the time. I'll give you my ID right now. Lu Yan was truly enraged. He didn't want to either. Just now, he'd already chosen to admit defeat, but Su Lu didn't give him the chance. It's not like I'm afraid. At most, I'll just fight. At most, he would have to lie in bed for half a month. Would she beat him to death? I have to say the ugly words first. I tend to get serious in a duel. If I really hurt you, don't say that I won't compensate for your medical fees. Lu Yan threatened. All right. Su Lu's reply was simple and to the point. A few minutes later, Lu Yan and Su Lu exchanged contact details. It was clear that Lu Yan's expression was very displeased. He had no other choice. Su Lu seemed to be in a good mood after receiving a friend request. Yi Zichen knew that. Another punching bag had arrived. How could he not be happy? He couldn't say anything. All he could do was pray for Lu Yan. He hoped that Su Lu would go easy on him tomorrow so that he could recover soon. Crack! At that moment, a soft cracking sound sounded out from afar. Yi Zichen and company slowly looked up and saw that the ice on the head of the iron-backed Azure Bowl had already cracked. This iron-backed Azure Bowl does have some skill. It was actually able to break through my ice so quickly. Su Lu looked down. Lu Yan, who had already decided to give up, stopped flattering her. He twitched his mouth and snorted coldly. Stop pretending, okay? The iron-backed Azure Bull's berserk state is at the rainbow cloud level. According to you humans, it's a king. You, a universe-level person, used ice to trap a king for a few minutes, and you actually said that it's not bad? Not bad. Seriously? Have you never been beaten up by society before? That's why you're so full of yourself. Su Lu magnanimously didn't take Lu Yan's slander to heart. However, she was very surprised that the level Lu Yan said was king-ranked. How is that possible? How could a king-ranked be so weak? Is it king-ranked? Yi Zichen frowned in surprise. According to the strength of the human race, shouldn't it be a male? F***CK. Suddenly, Yi Zichen's expression froze. Indeed, Earth-level count, Earth-level marquis, Sky-level duke, Rainbow Cloud-level king. He had calculated wrong before. If it wasn't for Lu Yan, he would have thought that the Rainbow Cloud level was a duke. If that's the case, then all the iron-backed Azure Bulls he and Su Luer killed were the marquis level? That's true. Vicious beasts really can't be compared to humans. They're so weak. If they were human marquises, how could they die so easily? You think? Lu Yan frowned. I don't know what's going on today, but all the iron-backed Azure Bulls are in a berserk state. This iron-backed Azure Bull King has been in a berserk state for several hours, and it still hasn't disappeared. I'm seriously suspecting that something went wrong. Otherwise, how could this happen? Yi Zichen remained silent. It probably has something to do with their difficulty level. Crack. The cracks on the ice grew larger and larger, and the cracking sound became more and more frequent. Lu Yan had already entered a battle-ready state. On the other hand, Yi Zichen and Su Luer were still absent-minded, as if they weren't paying attention at all. What? Stop spacing out, okay? Ah, fine. Only then did Yi Zichen come back to his senses. He pretended to look at the huge creature in front of him seriously. Su Luer also raised her hand lazily and formed several icicles on her arm. What the hell? Lu Yan couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw their actions. Crack! Roar! All of a sudden, a demonic wind blew. The moment the iron-backed Azure Bull's head broke free from the ice, it let out a deafening roar. There were still a lot of ice crystals on its head that had yet to fall off. Stop yelling. Eat some ice, Su Luer said coldly. Su Luer muttered coldly. She waved her hand, and an icicle fist pierced through the air. You, king-ranked? You're truly an embarrassment to king-ranked. Chapter 3029. Ding, ding, ding. Countless hair-raising sounds rang out. When Su Luer's icicles hit the head of the ironback Azure Bulls, they all shattered into shards of ice and fell to the ground. Lowly humans. The ironback Azure Bull roared angrily. It was thoroughly enraged. It was the undisputed king of the ironback Azure Bull clan. Even in the elementary training area, it stood at the top of the food chain. And now, it was being humiliated by Lu Yan, stabbed into the ground by Su Luer's icicles, groveling before the Lord of Sloth of the ancestral dragon clan. Then, it was ignored by a few puny humans, and it was completely covered in ice, unable to move. All of this, without exception, it stirred up the pride in its heart. His dignity, as the leader of the Ironback Azure Bulls, the dignity of the Ironback Azure Bull King. Its hide is pretty tough. Yi Zichen muttered. He knew very well just how sharp Su Luer's icicles were. Once they pierced through the heart, ordinary Ironback Azure Bulls wouldn't even be able to struggle before collapsing to the ground. Yet the Ironback Azure Bull King wasn't injured at all. That makes sense. When Lu Yan dealt with the guards, his energy threads instantly sliced through the guards, but only left a white line on the Ironback Azure Bull King's ankle. Yi Zichen had thought that Lu Yan wasn't strong enough, but now it seemed that wasn't the case. The Ironback Azure Bull King's defense was truly astonishing. Of course, that was all. The Ironback Azure Bull King's skin is over 10,000 times harder than that of a normal Azure Bull. Both its attack and defense are shocking. If it was normal, how could it be worthy of being the leader? Lu Yan muttered, "Don't underestimate the king of vicious beasts. Even if it can't grasp secret arts and control the elements like you humans, its defense and strength are incomparable. Since you're so good at talking, why aren't you attacking?" Su Luer asked. Lu Yan paused. "I know I'm no match for the Ironback Azure Bull King, so I won't humiliate myself. What's more, Big Sister Luer is here, so I shouldn't embarrass myself. You guys attack, I'll support you. Don't worry, I definitely won't ambush you." If you hadn't said that last sentence, I might have believed you. Yi Zichen smiled insincerely. "Look at what you're saying. Am I the kind of person who would rebel against my own people?" Lu Yan's brows furrowed. "You guys just attack boldly. Leave the rear to me. Lu Yan thumped his chest loudly. That solemn and confident look on his face was truly unbelievable. He was obviously trying to cover something up. If he really didn't have that kind of crooked thoughts, why would he mention all this? Since he mentioned it, it meant that he had something in mind, but he didn't want others to suspect him. The more he emphasized it, the more guilty he felt. Yi Zichen and Su Lu looked at each other and shrugged. Big Sister Lu leave it to me. With that, she stepped onto an ice lotus and soared into the sky, one lotus at a time. Extreme frost, accompanied by a delicate rebuke, a cold wind suddenly blew inside the snowstorm rampart. In less than half a minute, the entire world inside the snow-wind fortress had turned into an ice prison. There was no wind here, but the temperature was bone-chilling. This is going to freeze me to death. Lu Yan rubbed his arms. It was unknown whether he was trying to be funny or whether his brain was really weird, but he actually took out a jacket and draped it over himself. Space element. Yi Zichen, who had been focusing on Lu Yan, squinted his eyes. He didn't see any spatial artifact on him. As for why he was so sure, it was the fiery eyes of truth. Yi Zichen had already scanned Lu Yan with his fiery eyes of truth. Perhaps Lu Yan would say that he had some sort of spatial artifact, but Yi Zichen saw it very clearly. He didn't. Big Sister Lu was right. This brat has a lot of secrets. Yi Zichen smiled. Su Lu's extreme frost was terrifying, but it was still acceptable for Yi Zichen. He cultivated the 5 elements, so he was rather resistant to the cold. What's more, he had a fire elemental fairy protecting him. It didn't affect him much. On the other hand, Lu Yan didn't show any sign of the bone-chilling coldness after he put on the jacket. Could he control fire as well? Brother Yi, give me one. Lu Yan grabbed the jacket and shouted. It's fortunate that I brought a jacket with me in my spatial belt. Otherwise, I would have been frozen to death by your sister-in-law. Look, whatever I say, it just happens. Yi Zichen silently listened to Lu Yan's nonsense. Spatial belt? If his crappy belt was a spatial artifact, then Yi Zichen was willing to cut off his head for him to play with. Your jacket is pretty resistant to the cold. It's a few thousand degrees below zero, right? A jacket can block it? Yi Zichen smiled. Lu Yan's expression didn't change. It was clear that he had already expected Yi Zichen to ask that. You don't understand, right? This is called a psychological cue. When you put on the jacket, your heart will subconsciously think that you shouldn't be afraid of the cold and release this cue to make yourself feel warm. Mental victory technique? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Yeah, that's pretty much what it means. Brother Yi understands it very well. Lu Yan smiled. Whatever, keep it for yourself. Yi Zichen shook his head with a smile. I'm a fire cultivator, so I'm not afraid of the cold. Put on the jacket. If you're not cold, then don't just stand there. Hurry up and help. Don't tire my sister-in-law out. All right. Lu Yan didn't hesitate. He immediately took out his sword and pretended to run toward the Ironback Azurok's leader. Roar. All of a sudden, a roar sounded out. The roar was accompanied by a turbulent wave of air, causing Lu Yan, who was in front, to be blown back like a paper man. Yi Zichen, who was standing behind, was completely shocked. This is too fake. Just what's up with this bro? He can't even get a Golden Rooster award with this sort of acting? Yet, he was rather immersed in his role. He pretended to be struggling and held the sword in front of his chest while the veins on his head bulged. He bent his back and tried his best to walk forward step by step. Here came the details. As long as he took 3 steps forward, he would definitely be blown back 4 steps. In conclusion, he didn't advance, but instead retreated. Yi Zichen truly exclaimed in admiration at his superb acting skills. Just what was it that allowed him to persist until this point? He clearly had such crappy acting skills, yet he still tried his best to continue acting. Brother Yi, be careful. Lu Yan, who was fighting against the wind, shouted. Yi Zichen was nearly moved by his concern for his comrade, even though he was already in a desperate situation. Just a little bit more. Old Lu, the wind stopped. Didn't you feel it? Ugh. Lu Yan's expression instantly stiffened. Then he scratched his head with an awkward smile. Is that so? Ha ha. I just stopped as well. The wind is really strong. Yeah, Yi Zichen didn't expose his disguise. One should always leave a way out. No matter how crappy Lu Yan's acting skills were, he still needed someone to continue acting with him. Human, you've successfully angered me. At that moment, the Ironback Azure Ox leader roared angrily. Yi Zichen and Lu Yan both looked over, then saw Su Lu who was standing on an ice lotus, smile. And then? Will you become stronger after angering you? If you can, then hurry up and show your cuteness. Chapter 30. Boom! With a thunderous rumble, the Frost Empress Su Lu unleashed her full power. The Lord of Sloth had limited the range of her ice congealing abilities, but it hadn't limited her mastery of the ice element. In other words, she was still that insufferably arrogant empress. At most, her attacks had lessened. Snowflakes filled the sky, circling around her like ice fairies. The pure white snow covered her like a layer of icy silk. Her entire being exuded a sense of holiness. Just from looking at this absolutely beautiful scene, she was like a saintess, praying for the people of Li. Unfortunately, Su Lu wasn't a saintess. In fact, she couldn't even be considered a virtuous lady. She was a true battle maniac. I spread. As she shouted, countless vines suddenly grew out of the ground of this ice domain. Even though these vines were formed from solid ice, they still retained the wildness and agility of vegetation. Upon hearing Su Lu's summons, the ice vine scrambled to climb up the Ironback Azure Bull. Earth Wave! The Ironback Azure Bull lifted its right hoof and stomped on the ground. The ice vines that extended along the snowy ground were all broken into pieces by the tremors of the earth. Arrogant humans. When it saw this, the Ironback Azure Bull's eyes flashed with arrogance. It was the majestic Ironback Azure Bull King. How could these puny humans provoke it? It had to make them pay. The Earth Wave was a small warning. So long as it got serious, these little tricks would crumble in front of it. Do you really think you can bind this king with just this ice vine? Foolish. The Ironback Azure Bull King sneered disdainfully. Even if they came within 100 meters of me, the Ironback Azure Bull King had only just begun to pretend, but before he could finish his sentence. Then he saw the broken ice vines on the ground wriggled and fused back together, then leapt towards it. Foolish. Su Lu stood on her ice lotus in the sky, returning the words back to the Ironback Azure Bull King. This slap was like a vicious slap to the face. Even the Ironback Azure Bull King. Perhaps it hadn't expected the slap to come so quickly. So what if they fuse? If this king can break them once, I can do it a second time. Soon after, the Ironback Azure Bull Chief's right front hoof was raised high again. So south. All of a sudden, dozens of ice vines drilled out from under its feet and wrapped around its legs. The Ironback Green Bull Chieftain's right hoof was tightly bound. Then the vines drilled back into the ground, and something unexpected happened. If those slender ice vines were to be compared to the legs of the iron-backed Azure Bull Chief, it would be much weaker. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was a thin thread. However, it was these dozens of thin threads that were so tenacious that it made people sigh in admiration. When they drilled back in the ground, the Ironback Azure Bull Chief's huge body fell to the ground. Thump! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Watch your step. Su Lu pursed her lips, then sighed and shook her head. As expected, fighting with you is no fun at all. I must have been blind to have taken you for a hero. Human. The Ironback Green Bull Chieftain struggled with all its might, but no matter how hard it tried, the ice vines were too sturdy, causing it to despair. Don't underestimate ice. Oh, that's not right. I should say, don't underestimate my ice. Su Lu smiled, then lifted her fingers. More and more vines wrapped around the Ironback Azure Bull's body, directly binding it into a giant dumpling, leaving only its tail and head exposed. These sisters are really interesting. The silver-armored guard in the sky couldn't help but chuckle. This chuckle caused the mask on his face to move, revealing a beautiful and exquisite chin. The guard hurriedly put his mask back on, then tilted his head and watched the scene through the eye of the storm without saying anything. What are you doing, human? The Ironback Azure Bull leader, who had been tied up like a dumpling, roared angrily. From time to time, it would spit out moist saliva. Luer Jia, seal its mouth too, whispered Yi Zichen. Is that all right? Su Luer revealed a rare look of benevolence. It might be in a lot of pain later, so it might be better to let it cry out. I'll just give it a local anesthetic, said Yi Zichen. That's fine too. Then, Su Luer lifted her hand once more. The Ironback Azure Bull King's eyelids twitched. He knew very well that nothing good would happen if this woman lifted her hand. As expected, less than 2 seconds after Su Luer raised her hand, she saw a thin layer of ice spread across her mouth. Then, the thin layer of ice solidified into solid ice. 10 seconds later, a mask of ice directly covered her mouth. He couldn't move at all. The vines had already fixed him firmly to the ground. What he could do, he just lowered his eyes and glanced at his own big mouth. Little Ox King, don't worry. We won't kill you. Be a good boy. Su Luer touched the Ironback Azure Bull King's ice-covered mouth and said in a cute voice. Yi Zichen felt his scalp go numb. Luer Jia, you're making me want to vomit. I think you want to die. Su Luer instantly recovered her usual coldness and snorted. Su Luer instantly recovered her usual coldness and snorted. Hurry up and do your job. My job is done. It's your turn. No problem. Yi Zichen grinned, then ran behind the Ironback Azure Bull Kings, but... Woo! The Ironback Azure Bull King wanted to yell, but his mouth was sealed shut, so he couldn't say anything. He could only kick back and forth. Don't be afraid, it'll be quick. Su Luer stood on her ice lotus atop the Ironback Azure Ox's head and gently stroked its forehead. Yi Zi said he's a professional. He learned how to butcher pigs in the village for several years. Although you're an ox, you're probably not that much different. We'll just take one of your tails. At least you survived, right? Whoa, what? You have to thank us. You're welcome. Su Luer pursed her lips and smiled. Su Luer pursed her lips and smiled. This is what we should do. It hasn't been easy for you either. Live well. Ironback Azure Bull King. Only a ghost would thank you. Ironback Azure Bull King. If you have the guts, then let Lousy go. Lousy wants to fight 300 rounds with a witch like you. Luer Jia, you're not going to kill it? Luyan also jumped up. Get down. Su Luer's gaze instantly turned cold. Stand in the empty space in front of me. If you dare to move, I'll stab you to death with an icicle. Oh, what's going on? Luyan's body instantly stiffened. He silently retreated to the ground and stood there like a primary school student. Luer Jia? Don't say anything. From now on, you're also a key observation target. Don't even think about doing anything. A blue light flashed across Su Luer's eyes. My eyes will always be on you. Chapter 3031. What if he was targeted by bad guys? Urgent. Luyan posted a post on a campus forum. The moment the post was posted, it instantly caused a huge commotion. The students of the 3 schools rushed over and told each other to reply to Luyan's post. Did you think that Luyan was so popular because of his ranking? Wrong. Or was it because he was aloof and his occasional posts were novel? That was a big mistake. Luyan was nicknamed the Little Prince of Posts. He could not wait to post more than 10 posts in school every day, and all of them were replied to by posts. He actually did not want to do that. He had no choice. In order to promote the students' spending power, all the major colleges and universities supported posts, and those who replied could get points. Luyan was also helpless. For the sake of points, he had to go all out and post posts. As a result, if he posted seriously, others would think that he was posting. Moreover, there would always be people replying to his posts. In fact, if one had to say something, it had something to do with his ranking. Second place for 10,000 years. He was destined to be extraordinary, as he had been ranked second since he entered school. It was a pity that he was already a third year, but he was still in second place and had not moved at all. In addition, he was always posting and was more down to earth. The students of the 3 schools did not feel distant from him. They all liked to call him, affectionately, second brother. Right now, there were hundreds of replies to his post as soon as it was posted. All of them were greeting his second brother and then teasing him about when he could take the first place. The number of people who really answered his question: 0. This damned image. Lu Yan could not help but scratch his head. He was really too good at posting, like a wolf. At first, the students still believed him and would give him some advice. But now, they did not believe his nonsense at all. Ding dong. At this moment, Lu Yan received a message in the chat box of his identity card. The person who sent the message was Ming Xiang. She had always been paying attention to all of Lu Yan's movements. She also paid special attention to Lu Yan on the forum. When she saw Lu Yan's post, the first thing she thought of was that he was starting to be indecent again. However, on second thought, he was in the wind wall now. Could it be that he was bullied inside? Ming Xiang immediately became anxious and quickly sent a message to Lu Yan to ask about it. However, she did not dare to make it too obvious. Previously, she had let her imagination run wild several times and was mercilessly ridiculed by Lu Yan in the end. Ming Xiang, I'm doomed. What happened? Standing outside the wind wall, Ming Xiang's expression turned serious. What's going on inside? Did they team up to bully you? I'm going in now. Wait for me. No. Lu Yan replied immediately after he received the message. I'm safe now. They didn't do anything to me. Then why did you say that you were targeted by bad people? Ming Xiang frowned and said, What's going on? We can't see or hear anything from outside. I've been targeted by the demoness. Lu Yan glanced helplessly at Su Lu'er, who was staring straight at him. I think they guessed it. Didn't I want to take advantage of the chaos to snatch Oxtail back? They're the main attackers while I slacked off. When the Ironback Azure Bull leader dies, I'll go and snatch the Oxtail. You're really shameless to do something like that. Ming Xiang was speechless. Lu Yan's face also stiffened. What do you mean? How am I shameless? What's the big deal? I'm not familiar with him to begin with. So what if I snatch it? And then? Ming Xiang didn't answer his question. Now that the ice-wielding demoness has tied up the Ironback Azure Bull leader, then that sneaky brat, who used to butcher pigs, has gone to cut the oxtail. Now that I'm being watched by the demoness, I can't move. Then don't move. Ming Xiang didn't really care. She didn't think it was a big deal. Just stand there. Just give them the oxtail, Lu Yan said. What about the trial? Lu Yan said seriously. Didn't we already take their points? If we don't complete it, then my reputation will be ruined. I won't refund them, even if they ask me to. No need. Ming Xiang glanced at Gu Chang. Noticing Ming Xiang's gaze, Gu Chang hurriedly smiled and nodded. Even if you don't give him the oxtail, he won't dare to do anything. Rest assured and take the points. Right now, the oxtail isn't the most important. Your safety is the most important. Don't do anything stupid. If the two of them join forces and beat you up inside, no one can help you. Lu Yan frowned slightly. Seeing Ming Xiang's reply, he was now certain of one thing. Ming Xiang. Her identity was indeed extraordinary. Tens of millions of points could make Gu Chang not dare to ask for it back. Even if Ming Xiang's family had trillions of points, they wouldn't be able to do that. Obviously, the family behind her was many times more powerful than Gu Chang's family. This was really puzzling. Why did this little princess have to follow an old man like him, who had one foot in the grave? Although his mentality was very young. However, he did look a little older, and he was aware of this. What's the situation outside? Outside, Ming Xiang glanced around. That sneaky brat's men are still here. I just lost 2 of them and don't know where they went. I don't really care. They didn't do anything to you, right? They wouldn't dare. Ming Xiang tilted her head and glanced around. The ones left behind are 4 salted fishes. They look stupid and cute, but they probably haven't been beaten up by society. That little lowly and that slow-witted girl left. They've been gone for around 10 minutes. All right, I'll be out soon. You guys be careful. Don't worry. The moment Lu Yan received the message, he suddenly heard the Ironback Azure Bull roar in fear. Woo, the Ironback Azure Bull leader roared. When he looked over, he saw that Yi Zichen, who was standing on its butt, had already condensed a lightning blade in his hand. Lightning element? Isn't he a fire cultivator? Dual cultivation? Lu Yan squinted his eyes and muttered. He subconsciously looked up and saw that Su Lu'er was still staring straight at him. All of a sudden, Lu Yan lost his temper. Lu urged, I won't steal it. Ha! Su Lu'er snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Yi Zichen's decision to leave the Ironback Azure Bull leader alive and take its tail was to prevent Lu Yin from stealing it. Su Lu felt that this was a good suggestion. She wasn't interested in the Ironback Azure Bull leader at first, even though it was a fake king ranked. But fake, in the end, wasn't real. It wasn't challenging at all. Well, the Ironback Azure Bull leader was on the verge of tears. It already felt that its tail had touched something sharp. Don't cry, it'll be over soon. Su Lu rubbed the Ironback Azure Bull's head, then turned around with a frown. Hurry up, it's terrified. Wait, the other elements in your domain of ice and snow are a bit sparse. Can I do it bit by bit? Yi Zichen licked his lips, then smacked the Ironback Azure Bull's butt. F***CK. The condensed lightning element instantly drilled into the Ironback Azure Bull's butt. Instantly, the Ironback Azure Bull leader felt that its left leg had gone numb. Woo! The Ironback Azure Bull leader roared with all its might, as if it wanted to remind Yi Zichen that it had anesthetized the wrong area. Don't worry, it's just anesthesia. It'll recover very quickly, Su Lu said softly. The Ironback Azure Bull leader continued to whimper. How can I let them know that I've anesthetized the wrong area? Hurry! It did everything it could to express its thoughts, but Su Lu still misunderstood it. Hurry up, it's panicking. Coming. I'll cut it now. With that, the lightning blade in Yi Zichen's hand chopped down. Roar! A high-pitched roar filled with despair broke through the ice as the Ironback Azure Bull King roared. King anesthetized the wrong area. Chapter 30-32. It was miserable enough. The Ironback Azure Bull King roared. At that moment, it no longer cared about its dignity. The only thought in its mind was, King hurts too much. There was a dull pain in his buttocks. No one could empathize with that kind of feeling. The pain stimulated its nerves and made it want to get up and bite Yi Zichen to death. Unfortunately, the numbness caused by the lightning made it unable to feel its hind legs at all. Logically speaking, the numbness was pretty good. The Ironback Azure Bull King felt like its legs weren't its own anymore. Unfortunately, it was in the wrong place. Yi Zichen, who had cut off the oxtail, covered his ears with his fingers. When the roar faded away, he tilted his head to take a look. The numbness was wrong. Yi Zichen shrugged bitterly, then put the oxtail back into his spatial ring. Where are you going? The Ironback Azure Bull King roared when it felt Yi Zichen about to leave. Stop the bleeding. Do you want me to die? All right. Yi Zichen looked down when he heard the angry roar and pressed down with his hand, causing a flame to burn on his palm. Then, sizzle. White smoke rose from the Ox King's severed tail. The Ox King, who was still immersed in the pain of losing its tail, instantly roared once again. Human, this king is going to kill you. Bang, bang, bang. The ice spread, coiling around the iron-backed Azure Bull King's body, instantly shattered. The ox, whose hind legs were already numb, actually stood up from the ground as if its life force had exploded out of it. Retreat. Yi Zichen immediately ran out. Seeing that, Su Lu also dispersed the wind wall. The wind wall dissipated, and the people outside finally saw what was happening inside. The Ironback Azure Bull King, who had lost its tail, roared angrily as it chased after the three figures that were as tiny as specks of dust. Why are we running? Su Lu, who was being dragged by Yi Zichen, frowned. If it wants to be violent, then just kill it. Spare its life, Luergia. We've already gotten our tail, so let it live. Yi Zichen hurriedly tried to calm Su Lu's fighting spirit. Then, can you let go my hand? I'll tell my little sister. Do you think it's a good idea? He immediately let go. He hadn't done it on purpose. It was just that as he ran, he saw Su Lu staring blankly into space. She was probably shocked at how the Ironback Black Bull King had managed to break free of her ice spread. Naturally, Yi Zichen couldn't just let her stand there blankly, so he dragged her along and ran. Just as he let go, he saw Su Lu rub her hand against her clothes. Is there poison in my hands? It's not a good idea to let it chase us like this. Logically speaking, the oxtail should be controlling its balance. You've paralyzed its hind legs, but it's still running so fast. Just create some obstacles for it. I spread. Water barrier. As Su Lu'er and Yi Zichen ran for their lives, they used all sorts of techniques to slow down the Bull King's pursuit. What are you waiting for? Yi Zichen tilted his head and glanced at Lu Yin, who hadn't done anything yet. Come on, attack. You didn't do anything when your tail was severed just now. Do you want to slack off while running for your life? Do you need me? Lu Yin frowned. Why do you care if I need it or not? Each of us can release one. Lu Yin sighed helplessly, then raised his hand. Earth collapse. Rumble. At this moment, the entire ground caved in, and the ironback Azure Bull King that was madly sprinting also fell into the pit. Su Lu'er and Yi Zichen couldn't help but slow down. Why did you stop? Lu Yin turned around when he felt the people beside him stop. Then he saw Yi Zichen squint his eyes at him, while Su Lu'er rubbed her palms together. What are you guys looking at me like that for? You've hidden yourself well, my friend. Yi Zichen walked up with a smile and looked him up and down. You dare to say that you can't beat the ironback Black Bull King with your abilities? During that time, Su Lu'er's body had already begun to emit a white, icy aura. Crap! Lu Yin cursed silently. What he did just now was actually subconscious. Yi Zichen told him to release one technique each, but he was used to doing it once and for all. It would be best if he could use the simplest and most effective method to stop it. Then he thought of Earth collapse. Earth element? You know how to use Earth? A little. Lu Yin smiled coyly. I'm not that proficient. I only know a little. Friend, that doesn't seem like a little, Yi Zichen smiled coyly. If that's just a little, then it would be very difficult for anyone to truly grasp the basics. It seems like you do have a lot of secrets. No. Lu Yin quickly waved his hands. You guys misunderstood. Actually, my Earth collapse only looks amazing, but it's actually not that effective. If it wasn't for you paralyzing it, and if it wasn't for it losing its balance, my Earth collapse wouldn't have been able to trap it at all. Stop changing the topic. Su Lu'er squinted her eyes, while the coldness in her hands grew stronger. Are you talking about trapping it? Yi Zichen is talking about your mastery of the Earth element. Lu'er, calm down. Lu Yin frantically shook his head. My mastery of the Earth element is nothing. You guys are definitely thinking too much. AI, that's not right. All of a sudden, Lu Yin revealed a serious expression. Didn't we agree to compete tomorrow? Since we agreed, then we have to do as we said. I might as well tell you the truth. My mastery of the Earth element is #1 in the world. Even heroes can't compare to me. What are you afraid of? Are you sure? Su Lu'er raised her eyebrows. Yes. Lu Yin did not hide anything. To be honest, the Earth collapse just now was merely a wave of my hand. If I'm serious, then the entire world is under my control. You are not my match. Yi Zichen silently watched Lu Yin provoke Su Lu'er. This bro really isn't afraid of death. I already told Lu Yin to admit defeat. Why didn't he listen? If you don't listen to your elders, then you'll suffer. Would Su Lu'er be afraid? She wouldn't. The stronger the expert, the more excited she was. Instead, she was afraid of people without any ability. Lu Yin has gone down the wrong path. As expected, when she heard Lu Yin's words, Su Lu'er's eyes shone with a brilliant light. All right, since that's the case, then let's begin. Lu Yin was stunned. He looked at Su Lu'er, who was already releasing a cold aura. Wait, aren't we going to fight tomorrow? I changed my mind. Don't. Is this something that you can change just because you say so? I want to change it. Ice spike. Zoom! A shimmering ice spike shot out from under Lu Yin's feet. Then, Lu Yin leapt into the air and disappeared. He ran? Yi Zichen looked at the sky in shock. Su Lu'er also frowned. How did he run? She could feel that the space seemed to move rhythmically. Then, Lu Yin disappeared from this world. At that moment, Ming Xiang and Gu Chong hurried over with Wei Lin and company. Don't bother looking for him. Chapter 3033. Earth Escape. Yi Zichen could feel the traces of Lu Yan's escape from the surrounding space. I have to say, Lu Yan's escape technique is pretty good. In that instant, even Yi Zichen was unable to react before he disappeared from the world. When Yi Zichen checked his body with his energy, he could faintly feel that he was about to reach the safe zone. His escape technique is pretty good, Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows, while a look of disdain appeared in Ming Xiang's eyes. He specializes in escape techniques. That was the only thing Ming Xiang disliked about Lu Yan. In terms of talent, he was actually pretty good. Among the many talents in the ancestral dragon clan, his innate talent was considered to be one of the best. Unfortunately, his mind wasn't on fighting at all. Instead, he spent most of his time and energy on escaping techniques. In terms of attainments in escape techniques, there were probably not many in the entire ancestral dragon clan that could match up to him. Actually, that wasn't a big deal. Everyone had their own ambitions. Some people preferred to live steadily, so they were willing to cultivate life-saving techniques first. That was understandable. Only by staying alive would one be able to do damage and prove one's worth. If one died, then no matter how dazzling one would only become a memory. Since one cultivated escape techniques, then one shouldn't pursue fame and fortune. No, Lu Yan wasn't like that. He wanted to stay alive, but he also wanted to be invincible. He had always been competing with the number one in the 3 schools. Even after 3 years of competition, he had never won, causing him to sulk every day. Ming Xiang advised him to focus on combat techniques. No, he insisted on focusing on escape techniques. She said that even if he only occasionally trained in combat techniques, he would still be able to get first place. Thus, ended up like this. Why did 2 people from our team go missing? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Wei Lin and company were all there, but Meng Luo and Hua Jinro were nowhere to be seen. Before Ming Xiang could finish. Then, Yi Zichen saw Meng Luo and Hua Jinro run back from afar and shout, "Great deity!" Meng Luo's face was covered in mud, while her hands were also dirty. Where did they go? Yi Zichen gathered water elements on his fingertip and washed Meng Luo's hand clean. Then he frowned towards Meng Luo and Hua Jinro. "Did you 2 play in the mud?" "I didn't go to get the trial items." "Sky blue grass?" "Yeah." Meng Luo grinned. "Just now, Hua and I are thinking that since we have nothing to do here, we might as well go and get the sky blue grass." Then we asked Wei Lin and the others where they are and went. However, the sky blue grass was too big, so we dug it out with our hands. Yi Zichen didn't know what to say. Then, he frowned and muttered to himself, "Next time, don't run around." When Meng Luo sensed that Yi Zichen's tone was off, she pursed her lips and opened her eyes wide in confusion. "What happened to us?" "I'm not blaming you," Yi Zichen explained in advance, then patted Meng Luo's head. "This is the activity area of the Ironback Azure Bull's leader, as well as their territory. If you 2 encountered other Ironback Azure Bulls or other guards of the leader's lair, what would you do?" "We can fight them." Meng Luo blinked. "That's still no good," Yi Zichen frowned. "The biggest taboo in a team fight is to go out alone. Next time, you have to ask me first, okay?" "Oh, okay." Meng Luo pouted and felt a bit wronged. Seeing that, Yi Zichen rubbed her head with a smile. "But you 2 did well for successfully retrieving the sky bluegrass." Hee. Meng Luo instantly giggled, while Hua Jinro pursed her lips and did not say anything. Yi Zichen glanced at her, then rubbed her head. "Our Jinro did very well too." "Tisk, don't rub my head." Hua Jinro pushed Yi Zichen's hand away with all her might. Yi Zichen could tell from the blush on her face that she rather liked it. She's just Sundara. This time's trial had finally come to an end. From the moment they entered the trial area, encountered the rampaging Ironback Azure Bulls, then chased Lu Yan and company here, to when the hero appeared and took the tail of the Ironback Azure Bull King. "Oh yeah, where's the hero?" Yi Zichen looked up into the sky and saw that the Lord of Sloth's throne had already disappeared. He probably knew that it was over. He left early, but then again, the Lord of Sloth was rather interesting. He didn't have the sense of distance that the other heroes had. He was a very down-to-earth hero and was able to fully display his laziness. He was truly the Lord of Sloth. But Yi Zichen was certain that this hero was definitely one of the strongest. Everyone would get lazy at times. Heroes use this to gain strength, so the Lord of Sloth was definitely one of the strongest heroes. Yi Zichen just didn't know if he was on Zhu Ying's side or not. If he was, It shouldn't matter, right? Given his personality, he probably couldn't be bothered with all this. Let's go back as well. Yi Zichen looked up at the sky. It was already incomparably dark, but faint rays of light shone into the forest, so they wouldn't get lost. The instant Yi Zichen said that, Wei Lin felt as if her entire world had lit up. Finally, it was over. To her, this trial would definitely be engraved in her heart. It was too ridiculous. She'd never encountered anything so ridiculous in her entire life. "Do we need to go back to the safe zone?" asked Meng Luo. This was their first time in the trial, so they didn't know much about the place. When he heard that, he glanced at Wei Lin and the others. "We have to." Wei Lin hurriedly nodded. Yi Zichen didn't tarry, then glanced at Ming Xiang and Gu Cheng's group. "Want to go together?" Going together was undoubtedly the best outcome. The trial area was fraught with danger. Having more people would be relatively safer. Even if something really did go wrong, didn't they still have a bunch of bait? That was exactly what Yi Zichen was thinking. If danger really did appear, he'd just abandon Ming Xiang and the others. Don't blame him for being heartless. They weren't familiar with each other in the first place, so Wei Lin was much closer than Ming Xiang and the others. Unfortunately, it was very peaceful the entire way back. They didn't encounter any attacks from ferocious beasts, nor did anyone try to rob them. This made Yi Zichen rather disappointed. I brought all this bait for nothing. When they returned to the safe zone, there were far fewer vendors at night than during the day. The entire safe zone seemed rather empty. "How are we going back?" "You can call out your identity card and then back out," explained Wei Lin. Wei Lin explained. Right at this moment, Ming Xiang bit her lip and pondered for a moment before walking over. Everyone, who was trying to call out their identity cards, looked towards her. Then they saw her walk in front of Su Lu. "Are you interested in joining my family?" The Emperor Clan. Chapter 3034. Hero Academy. By the time Yi Zichen and the others returned, it was already late at night. In the living room of the dorm, Su Yin and the others were all sitting there. Even Fairy Blue Lotus, the famous teacher of the Hero Academy, was here. "Brother Yi Zi." Guo Ying ran over and leapt towards Yi Zichen. "Be careful." Yi Zichen hugged Guo Ying, then patted her head with a smile, then put her down on the ground. "Yi Ji is so tired right now. Let Yi Ji rest for a bit, okay?" "Okay, then sit down quickly. I'll give you a massage." Before he could say anything, Yi Zichen was dragged onto the sofa by Guo Ying. Her movements were rough, but they were serious. "Where did you guys go?" Fairy Blue Lotus said that you guys went to the training grounds. Su Yin sat beside Yi Zichen. Hearing that, Yi Zichen replied, "Yeah, I went and did 3 trials." "How was it? Was the trial grounds fun?" Xia Kiki asked curiously. "That's all." Yi Zichen shrugged. Meng Luo walked over with a giggle. "The trial grounds are so interesting. They're all really huge yaos there. The Great God and Big Sister Lu are really impressive. With just a few swipes, those demonic beasts are all dead." "Is that so?" "Meng Luo, tell me about it. I love hearing about Big Brother Zichen's glory." Xiaka laughed. "Come on, let's go to the side. I'll explain it to you." Meng Luo and Xia Kiki ran over to the sofa on the side. "Demonic beasts? Are they the ones on Earth?" "No." Yi Zichen shook his head. "Actually, we didn't see anything. We went to the Ironback Blue Ox's territory for a trial. The vicious beasts there look a bit like the aura-shattering beasts from the demon invasion." "Oh, I got it." The memory of the invasion of the demon race was still fresh in everyone's mind. "Are you hurt? Do you think we'll get hurt?" Yi Zichen grinned. "Didn't you hear what Meng Luo just said? Lu Urgia and I went on a rampage inside. The elementary training area poses no threat to us at all. It's not challenging at all, isn't that right, Big Sister Lu?" "Yes." Su Luer nodded. "It's pretty boring." When she heard Su Luer's answer, Su Yin finally relaxed. Yi Zichen always boasted in order not to make her worry, but she trusted Luer completely. If she said there was no threat, then there was no threat. "Right, he held my hand. He did it on purpose," Su Luer complained. Yi Zichen, who was sitting on the sofa, was completely shocked. He tilted his head and looked at the expressionless Su Luer, then hurriedly looked towards Su Yan. Yenner, don't listen to sister-in-law's nonsense. I grabbed her hand because she was in a daze. I wanted to run away with her, so I grabbed her hand. I didn't have any improper thoughts about her. I don't think you would dare. Su Luer sneered. F***, what do you mean? Just a moment ago, she was complaining about Yi Zichen, but now it seemed like she was defending Yi Zichen. What exactly do you want? Didn't I just teach you a lesson or two? Is there a need to be so petty? I'm just telling the truth. Then say it clearly. You didn't say it clearly, and you even said that I did it on purpose. You made it seem like I wanted to do something to you and take advantage of you. Oh, why did you say that? Su Luer squinted her eyes and muttered. If you didn't have such thoughts, then you wouldn't have said all that. Since you said it, then it proves that you're guilty. Lil sis, your man. F***ck. Yi Zichen looked at Su Luer, who had become sharp-tongued, in confusion. She really changed a lot. If it was before, there was no way she would have said something like that. In response, Su Yan faintly smiled and didn't say anything. She naturally wouldn't suspect Yi Zichen. What's more, she could feel that Luer was intentionally teasing him. She was very happy to see Su Luer and Yi Zichen get along so well. One had to know, Su Luer disliked Yi Zichen very much at the very beginning. I'm going to complain as well. Yi Zichen also touched me in secret, Blue Lotus Fairy said. Fairy Blue Lotus took the opportunity to say, not only did he touch my hand, he also touched He touched me too. Guo Ying opened her eyes wide. He touched my head. He touched me as well. Meng Luo ran over. Me too. Xia Kiki also joined in. In just a short while, everyone in the room started to say that Yi Zichen touched them. Due to this interruption, Blue Lotus Fairy, who originally had bad intentions, didn't get her way. Scumbag. Su Luer snorted coldly. Yi Zichen didn't bother explaining and merely shrugged. All right, I'll give up on this scumbag. Laughter filled the entire dorm. During that period of time, Meng Luo also told everyone about what happened to Yi Zichen and company in the trial grounds. Everyone who heard it all let out a sigh of relief when they heard it. Fortunately, they were safe and sound. Oh yeah, Luergia was also invited by the Emperor clan. Meng Luo spoke up towards the end. Emperor clan? Su Luer was invited by the Emperor clan? Blue Lotus Fairy raised her eyebrows in surprise. Are you sure that the people who invited you were really from the Emperor clan? You know of the Imperial clans? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. How could I not know? Blue Lotus Fairy curled her lips. The Emperor clan is the strongest clan in the Ancestral Dragon clan. Their status is comparable to the human clan's 8 great behemoths. It was said that there were still 4 Emperor clans in the entire Ancestral Dragon clan. Without exception, these 4 clans had a huge proportion in the Ancestral Dragon clan. Even if they were heroes, they would have to treat people from the Emperor clans with respect. When they ran into their clan leaders, they would have to greet them respectfully. It could be said that the Emperor clans are the ones with the highest status in the Ancestral Dragon clan. Oh, Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows in shock. He did not expect the Emperor clans to have such a high status in the Ancestral Dragon clan. Even the heroes had to be treated with caution. In other words, the Hero clan was not the only one in the Ancestral Dragon clan. He had thought that Hero was the highest level here. Who would have thought that he was just an employee? What a waste of his attention on Judgment Master Zhu Ying. In the end, she wasn't even at the peak of the Ancestral Dragon clan. Forgive his poor eyesight. He actually thought of Zhu Ying as a hero. If the Emperor clans are willing, the Emperor clans can dismiss the current heroes. Blue Lotus Fairy threw out another bomb. Which Emperor clan invited you back then? Depose heroes? Yeah. Blue Lotus Fairy nods her head. Do you think that you are an Emperor clan for nothing? You still haven't said which clan invited you. Imperial clan. Su Luer muttered. I know it's an Imperial clan. Which Imperial clan? Yes, the Imperial clans. The ones who invited Big Sister Lu are from the D Imperial clan. Chapter 3035. Blue Lotus Fairy suddenly fell silent. Her silence caused everyone in the living room to reveal confused expressions. Even Su Luer, who didn't really care about the Emperor clan's invitation, tilted her head and looked towards her. He didn't agree, right? After a long while, Blue Lotus Fairy finally asked softly and nervously. No, Su Luer shook her head. I'm not interested in the invitations of these families. No matter what they are, they're meaningless to me. That's good. Hearing that, Blue Lotus Fairy let out a long sigh, as if the rock in her heart had been lifted. Her tone caused Yi Zichen, who was sitting on the sofa, to frown and glance at Blue Lotus Fairy. What's wrong with this family? Yeah. Why would it be better if she didn't join? Meng Luo blinked in confusion. Is that family so scary that they would bully Luergia? Not really, Blue Lotus Deity said with a smile. With Su Luer's talent in the ice element, she will be popular no matter where she goes. Even the D Imperial clan would treat her like a treasure. No one would bully her or dare to bully her. With her talent, the D Imperial clan would also provide her with the best resources. There probably isn't any family in the entire Ancestral Dragon clan that can provide better resources than the D Imperial clan. If we really had to choose, the D Imperial clan is indeed the best. I'm rather surprised. Su Luer was actually able to gain the favor of the D Imperial clan. Who invited you? Blue Lotus Fairy squinted her eyes and asked softly. Su Luer glanced at Yi Zichen as if she wanted him to speak. Ming Xiang. Yi Zichen instantly understood. The person who invited Luergia calls herself Ming Xiang. She seems to be a student of a certain Ancestral Dragon clan high school. Ming Xiang. Blue Lotus Fairy pondered for a moment. What? Blue Lotus Fairy. It seems like you know someone from the D Imperial clan? Yi Zichen chuckled. Then he heard Blue Lotus Fairy say softly, Is it a girl? She's about 7 meters tall, has white skin, big eyes, and is rather pretty. Does she have 3 colored lines on the center of her eyebrows? All of a sudden, Yi Zichen was stunned. All the hits. He blankly looked at Blue Lotus Fairy on the sofa. Meng Luo and Hua Jinro also couldn't help but look at each other. They were also very surprised at how Blue Lotus Fairy knew all this. Blue Lotus Fairy, how did you know? It really is her. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded slightly. I knew it. If it weren't for her, no one from an Imperial clan would have come to invite Su Luer. Why? Meng Luo didn't understand. Can't you tell? An Imperial clan. Blue Lotus Fairy places emphasis on the 2 words Emperor Clan. Emperor Clan, could it be that you guys have never thought about the origin of Emperor Clan? They couldn't possibly be from the D Imperial clan, right? Hua Jinro muttered. Exactly. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded without hesitation and agreed with Hua Jinro. The reason why the Emperor clans are called Emperor clans is because of the existence of the Emperor family. In the past, in the Ancestral Dragon clan, other than the heroes, the highest rank was the Royal clan. Their clansmen were also known as certain sovereign kings. It's the appearance of the Emperor family. Their family clan has already transcended beyond the royal family. In the end, the Ancestral Dragon clan specially created a branch, which is the Emperor family. In the entire Ancestral Dragon clan, the D family was the only Emperor clan. Only after that did many clans proclaim themselves as emperors. The D Imperial clan is the strongest among all of the Imperial clans. Naturally, they're also the most arrogant. Even if an outstanding junior appeared, they would not send anyone to get in touch with him. This is the pride of the D family, and also a restriction placed on them by the Ancestral Dragon clan. Restrictions? Yi Zichen frowned. Is it that hard to understand? Actually, this is very easy to explain. For example, you, Yi Zichen, are a genius. I have always been. Yi Zichen interrupted. Ahem. Hearing this, Blue Lotus Deity curled her lips and revealed a mocking expression. What do you mean by that look? Yi Zichen was annoyed when he saw that. Blue Lotus Deity didn't explain. I won't use you as an example. I'll use Lil White. No, you have to use me as an example. Yi Zichen said seriously. Continue. I'm a genius. Fine, fine, fine. You can only live in hypotheticals. Blue Lotus Deity snorted. Blue Lotus Fairy snickered, causing Yi Zichen to cover his chest. So angry. It seems like Blue Lotus Deity is truly financially independent now. She earned a lot of points in the Ancestral Dragon clan. Otherwise, She wouldn't dare to speak to Yi Zichen like that. Yi Zichen, if you are a genius, then your talent has shocked the various large human clans, and they have started to send people to recruit you. Among them, there are second tier, first tier, super first tier, and even the 8 major heads. The resources they offer are also from low to high. What would you choose? I might choose first tier, Yi Zichen said. Huh? Blue Lotus deity was stunned. You choose first tier? Student Lil, Yi, please pay attention to question. The higher the status of the family, the more resources they will provide you, and the more convenience they will provide you. You choose first tier? Yeah. Can you tell me your reasoning? I'd rather be the head of a bird than the tail of a phoenix. Yi Zichen shrugged. This sort of recruitment will definitely give more geniuses to the super first tier and the 8 major heads. They have a lot of geniuses, so it doesn't matter if I'm included or not. I might just be a normal person after I go, but since I'm a first tier family, I'm their hope. They will give me everything they have, as long as I promise to never betray them. What's more, I won't have to worry about the pressure of competing with my peers. I'll live a more relaxed and comfortable life. Blue Lotus deity rubbed her chin. Why do I feel like Zhao Xin is right about this nonsense? How is it? Does it feel bad? Yi Zichen smiled. Does it feel good to be talked back to? I know what the answer is. Don't you want me to say that I'll choose the 8 major heads and bring them to the Ancestral Dragon Clan? If the D Imperial Clan comes to recruit me, then the other clans won't be able to get any geniuses. That's why the Ancestral Dragon Clan is restricting them. No, wait, Yi Zichen, you just reminded me. To his surprise, Blue Lotus deity shook her head and frowned. What you said was correct. It's not impossible for the Ancestral Dragon Clan to think like that. Since that's the case, the D Imperial Clan isn't actually able to recruit all the geniuses. If that's the case, then why is the Ancestral Dragon Clan restricting them? There's a problem here. Chapter 3036. Blue Lotus furrowed her brows. She was no longer explaining the situation to Yi Zichen and the others. Instead, she was lost in her own thoughts. She'd obtained some intelligence. The Ancestral Dragon Clan wouldn't allow the D family to send people to interact with the geniuses. Of course, if the geniuses came themselves, they wouldn't restrict them. Even if they wanted to, there was nothing they could do. If the Ancestral Dragon Clan's heroes really did that, they'd be completely suppressing the D family. Given the D family's strength, if they truly provoked them, the Ancestral Dragon Clan's heroes might not be able to withstand their fury. They announced to the outside world that they were giving the other clans a chance. But in truth, the hidden meaning was that they wouldn't allow the D family to dominate. The D family didn't have much ambition. They didn't want to rule the Ancestral Dragon Clan, so they chose to accept this kind of excuse. They wouldn't compete with the other clans. That wasn't a problem at all, until Yi Zichen's words, saying he'd rather be the head of the family than the tail of the phoenix, and mentioning the pressure of competition, struck a chord in Blue Lotus's heart. That's right, there was nothing wrong with what Yi Zichen said. Furthermore, based on the intelligence she'd gathered, when the D family competed with the other clans, they weren't guaranteed to win the favor of the young geniuses. It was very likely that the young geniuses had considered that. Since that was the case, the Ancestral Dragon Clan's dominance wasn't valid. Why were they still doing this? Inexplicably, an idea popped into Blue Lotus's mind. Of course, she didn't mean all of the Ancestral Dragon Clan's heroes. Rather, she meant the ones with absolute authority among them. They wanted to suppress the D family. The D family didn't come out into the world. Even if the geniuses wanted to find them, they wouldn't be able to before they were strong enough. It was obviously impossible for him to recommend himself. Furthermore, geniuses all had pride. No genius would grovel and run to some family to recommend themselves. They were all waiting for others to extend them an olive branch first. Then make a decision. At the very most, if the families that offered them an olive branch didn't suit their tastes, they'd refuse and wait for the families that truly suited them to appear. But the D family didn't have the right to actively recruit them. Even if some geniuses were interested in them and wanted to join them, they had no way of reaching out. In the end, it would only lead to a brain drain. He might not be able to see anything in a short period of time, but in the long run, it would slowly reveal itself. At that time, even if the clan was still standing, it would be on the verge of collapse. Until the older generation died out, this clan would instantly collapse, and they might not even have the qualifications to be part of the masses. The other clans of the ancestral dragon race would pounce on them like jackals and dogs, devouring everything in their clan. As for the decision-maker, it should be the ancestral dragon clan's ruling master, Zhu Ying. This was because she was the ruling master of the entire ancestral dragon clan. She was also the one who could make the final decision. Even if she was not the one who wanted to suppress the imperial clan, she couldn't escape responsibility either. This Zhu Ying, Fairy Blue Lotus softly muttered. Everyone else in the room watched as her expression changed. When she muttered Zhu Ying's name, Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. What happened to Zhu Ying? No, nothing. Hearing Yi Zichen's question, Blue Lotus Fairy quickly shook her head. If he didn't, then he didn't. Not joining isn't a bad thing. Moreover, we're humans. We can't stay in the ancestral dragon clan forever. Yes. Su Luer's expression changed. It's getting late. I need to rest. Blue Lotus Fairy mysteriously stood up from the sofa and lazily stretched. I still have a lot of classes to attend tomorrow. You guys chat. I'm going back. No, it's Blue Lotus Fairy. However, Blue Lotus Fairy acted as if she couldn't hear Yi Zichen's voice and closed the door after entering her room. What happened to Fairy Blue Lotus? Meng Luo blinked. Anyone could sense just how strange Blue Lotus Fairy's actions were. Not sure. The others shook their heads, but Guo Yingying grinned and said, My master is always like this. Don't worry about her. She might be acting up again. Is Fairy Blue Lotus sick? Meng Luo blinked. My master has indirect mental illness complications. Guo Yingying smiled. Guo Yingying said with a smile, That's what she told me. She told me not to worry about her when she's sick, and that she'll recover on her own soon. It's just that she hasn't acted up in the past 2 years. It probably started again just now. Oh my God. Meng Luo opened her eyes wide in shock. So Fairy Blue Lotus has this sort of illness. Didn't she think about getting it treated? I don't know. Guo Yingying shrugged. During that period of time, Yi Zichen frowned slightly and looked at the spot Blue Lotus Fairy left in silence. Indirect mental illness complications? Yi Zichen didn't know whether she really had such an illness or not, but he could feel it from her boastful words and the things she said before. Fairy Blue Lotus was a person with secrets. This secret wasn't referring to everyone's little secrets, but her identity and background. It was very simple. How could a human sovereign know so much about the internal situation of the ancestral dragon clan? That was clearly abnormal. Easy? What happened? Su Yin asked softly. Yi Zichen instantly laughed and shook his head. Nothing. I was just thinking about something. Oh yeah, what did Fairy Blue Lotus say to you guys when I was brought to prison? Nothing. Su Yin shook her head. She just said that you won't be in danger inside. You are the lord of the Virtual World Corporation. Even the ancestral dragon clan doesn't dare to touch you. What's more, you were slandered. Then why did they come to break you out of prison? The Hero Academy started school. I see. Yi Zichen touched his nose and nodded with a smile. All right, I understand. It's getting late. Let's all go back and rest. We still have to go to class tomorrow. Are you sure you're not going to sleep? Hua Jianro twitched her mouth. Yi Zichen's expression stiffened. However, Xia Kiki chuckled. Zichenji has always been like this. He sleeps in class and stays awake after class. He already had this problem when we were in university. Oh yeah, someone with the surname Luo seems to be causing trouble for you in school. Baiyu suddenly said. Luo. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows and shrugged. No worries, he's just a clown. Let him do whatever he wants. If he dares, then I'll just beat him up. Chapter 30-37. Classes were always a bit boring. Whether it was in the secular world or the ancestral dragon clan, nothing changed for Yi Zichen. Fortunately, he still had a certain amount of self-control. He could endure his tiredness in class and absorb as much of the teacher's lessons as he could. In truth, compared to the secular world's lessons, teaching the geniuses of the universe was actually a bit simpler. The teacher just needed to talk about some sort of understanding, and the listening student would start from that point and think about the path most suitable for him or her. Simply put, this was something all experts had in common. They all had the ability to self-reflect and extrapolate. If you asked them to memorize everything by rote, and the teacher pointed out a path, you could just press your head and tell them, this is the only path you can take, and only this path can help you succeed. The students couldn't accept that. There were millions of paths. Everyone chose a different path, and the path most suitable for them was completely different. Some secret arts might be suitable for him, but they might not be suitable for someone else. Milky Way Lord. Another round of fire elemental control classes came to an end. Yi Zichen was just about to climb out of his desk when he heard someone call out to him. When he looked up, he saw that the person walking towards him was none other than the class's teacher. Supremacy Red Flame. He ranked among the top 10 experts of the human race when it came to mastery of the fire element. Other sovereigns might consider comprehending space or other elements after entering the realm of sovereigns, but Supremacy Red Flame specialized in fire. Furthermore, his elemental affinity was perfect for Zhao Xian's. He too comprehended fire. Supremacy Red Flame. Although Yi Zichen was now a Milky Way Lord, he still treated his supremacy with due respect. He didn't feel like he was an equal just because of his status. Shall we take a walk together? Supremacy Red Flame took the initiative to invite him. This surprised Yi Zichen even more. The flame rat was still waiting by the door to go back with him. All Yi Zichen could do was shrug and glance meaningfully at him, then nod to Supremacy Red Flame. It would be my honor. They strolled through the ancestral Dragon Clan's campus. Yi Zichen maintained a distance of half a step as he followed Supremacy Red Flame. This was the respect a student ought to show their teacher. Milky Way Lord. Student present. You don't have to be so restrained. Venerable Scarlet Flame suddenly laughed. You're a Milky Way overlord with hundreds of venerables and overlords under you. I'm just a venerable. There's no need to be so polite. I'm not the galactic lord here. I'm just a student. Venerable Qi Yin raised his brows in surprise. Immediately, he nodded slightly and sighed with emotion. There are very few juniors like Milky Way Lord in the human race. Yi Zichen didn't say anything in response. Right now, he only had one question in his mind, and that was why Reverend Scarlet Flame was looking for him. Was she going to talk about him sleeping in class? During this period of time, Yi Zichen slept quite a bit and did not meet any sovereigns who came to find him. Could it be that Venerable Scarlet Flames was different from the other venerables and overlords? Was he a very responsible teacher? If that was the case, then why didn't he mention anything about going to class? Thus, the two of them strolled along the campus side by side. Since Venerable Scarlet Flame did not speak, Yi Zichen did as well. How was your time in the ancestral dragon tribe? It was all right, replied Yi Zichen softly. Yi Zichen replied softly. I'm still not used to it. Everything here is decided by points. It's rather strange. Everything else is pretty good, so it's not really a question of whether I'm used to it or not. Since we're already here, shouldn't we just go with the flow? In truth, Yi Zichen knew why the ancestral dragon tribe used points to decide things. Lu Yan had already explained it to him. Yi Zichen said that purely to brush off Venerable Scarlet Flame's questions. His many years of experience had made him much more cautious. Before figuring out the other party's intentions, he usually spoke 30% truth and 70% lies. Your mentality is pretty good. Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled and nodded. It's all right. All right, from now on, maintain the same attitude you were talking to me just now. Suddenly, Venerable Scarlet Flame's tone changed. Yi Zichen's brows instantly furrowed, but he quickly smoothed them out and returned to normal. What do you mean, Venerable? Nothing. Right now, we're being watched. Of course. They're just watching from afar. Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled as usual. Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled as usual. You can take a look. There are people watching us from the forest in the northwest and the third window of the school building in the east. Hearing that, Yi Zichen subtly looked in the direction Venerable Scarlet Flame had pointed out. When he looked over, he saw there really were people. What's more, it wasn't just him. There were people watching them from all directions as well. There were at least 10 of them. Why are they watching us? They're not watching us, they're watching you. Milky Way Lord, Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled. I've been paying attention for several days already, but you don't seem to have noticed. From what I can see, this isn't a good sign. I wanted to warn you a long time ago, but you never came to my class, so I didn't have a suitable excuse to go find you. Is that so? Yi Zichen's heart skipped a beat. I actually didn't notice at all. Ever since returning from the trial grounds, Yi Zichen had been attending classes peacefully. He didn't enter the trial grounds again, nor did he hand in his mission, because Winnie said she wanted to study their trial item. That's why he never handed it in. Meanwhile, Su Lu was busy looking for Lu Yan. It's worth mentioning that Lu Yan blocked Su Lu as expected. As a result, Su Lu had been scouring him for the past few days. On the other hand, Yi Zichen became a good student. He would go to class every day to learn about control and secret techniques, then return to the dorm to rest after studying. He really didn't notice that someone was watching him. Milky Way Lord, your sense of danger still needs to be improved. Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled. Venerable Scarlet Flame smiled and said, with your status, no matter where you go, you need to maintain full vigilance. There are plenty of people in this world who want to kill you. These people don't just come from within the human race. There are other races in the universe, such as the ancestral dragon clan. I know that. The identity of a Milky Way Lord was very important to the human race, and he received the inheritance of the Milky Way Lord. If he didn't want a second Milky Way Lord to appear, there would definitely be plenty of people who wanted to kill him in the cradle. Yi Zichen had always been on high alert in the human universe. He just didn't expect that he still couldn't relax after coming to the ancestral dragon clan. I'm also a sovereign of the Virtual World Corporation. That's why I'm telling you all this, Venerable Scarlet Flame muttered. Also, I have to remind you that in the future, even if a sovereign of the Virtual World Corporation invites you to take a stroll with you like this, you should reject them immediately. Internally, we are not as united as an iron board. You're saying, among the sovereigns who returned, there are no less than 10 who want to kill you. Chapter 3038. Is this what it feels like to be valued? When Yi Zichen heard Supremacy Scarlet Flame's words, an inexplicable smile surfaced in his eyes. No less than 10. Supremacies. They wanted to kill him in secret. Was it because he was hated? Or was it because the master of the Milky Way was too hated? Was that why he'd fallen into such a predicament? He was still a mere general. Were they not going to give him any time to grow? Were those people so afraid of his growth? So annoying. What? Do you feel speechless? Supremacy Scarlet Flame smiled. Encountering this sort of thing really does make you speechless, but your identity is rather special. You should get used to it. This isn't something you can get used to just because you want to, right? Yi Zichen smiled wryly. The Milky Way galaxy wasn't all that peaceful right now, and he'd already had enough to worry about. Now that he'd come to the ancestral dragon clan, he'd thought he'd be able to live a peaceful life, but he was still surrounded by danger. He might as well stay in the human race. At least, that was his main base of operations. If he wanted to touch him, first, he'd have to ask the Milky Way if it was willing. Even a Milky Way galaxy was facing a similar problem. Yi Zichen didn't deserve it. The Milky Way galaxy was able to develop to its current level because the Virtual World Corporation, the Universe Union Bank, and the Yin Xing family were allies. Furthermore, Supremacy Spirit Phoenix stood guard within the Milky Way galaxy. Simply put, the Milky Way galaxy's development came from trust. All of the Milky Way galaxy's military power was in Supremacy Spirit Phoenix's hands. Of course, this military power referred to high-end combat power. Those sovereigns, kings, and kings were all intimidated by Supremacy Spirit Phoenix's strength. If Supremacy Spirit Phoenix wanted to rebel, everything in the Milky Way galaxy would crumble. Yi Zichen didn't have the power to resist. He was only at the general level, so he didn't have the right to order those sovereigns and overlords to listen to him. That's why he still needed strength. He'd come to the ancestral dragon clan for the sake of heaven-defying strength. But from the looks of it, it would be very difficult for him to possess the power to look down on everyone in the near future. Try to get used to it. Supremacy Scarlet Flame smiled. Then his gaze darkened. So, are you ready? The sudden change in his tone caused Yi Zichen's heart to skip a beat. Sovereign Scarlet Flame, I'm reminding you, don't get too close to any sovereigns here. Even if they are sovereigns of the Virtual Realm Corporation, some of them have come to kill you. Venerable Scarlet Flame's eyes were filled with a sinister grin. That includes me. Boom! Before Yi Zichen could react, he felt a heavy punch land on his chest. Crack! The punch shattered Yi Zichen's ribs. A huge force was unleashed on his chest, causing him to shoot out like a cannonball and crash into the building in the Ancestral Dragon Tribe's campus. Even the people watching Yi Zichen from the shadows were shocked by this sudden development. Did someone make a move in advance? They could not help but have this thought in their minds. The students who were still on the campus were stunned. They all looked blankly at Yi Zichen, who was lying on the ground and coughing up blood. Then they looked at Supremacy Crimson Flame, who had a row of points above his head and a blazing right fist. Points burn. Supremacy Crimson Flame. Isn't that Supremacy Crimson Flame? The human race's sovereigns and highnesses recognized Supremacy Red Flame, then glanced at Yi Zichen, confusion swirling in their minds. Why would Supremacy Crimson Flame suddenly attack a student in the middle of a school? Furthermore, from his expression, it was clear that he wanted to kill that person. What's going on? Why would Supremacy Crimson Flame attack a student? Is that person from the human race or the Ancestral Dragon Tribe? I don't know him. Hey, don't you think that person looks familiar? He seems to be the Milky Way Lord, right? The Milky Way Lord. Does Supremacy Crimson Flame have a grudge against the Milky Way Lord? The human race's sovereigns and highnesses discussed amongst themselves, but none of them stepped forward to help. It didn't matter whether they wanted to or not. The points above Supremacy Crimson Flame's head were already burning. Over 1 billion. They didn't even have 1 million points. Even if they wanted to help, what could they do? What's more, they didn't want to help. If it weren't for the Milky Way Lord, they wouldn't have to live such miserable lives. Negative points. They still hadn't paid him back. We should just beat him to death. I know, right? Hurry up and die. More and more students discussed amongst themselves, but even in this situation, there was still a reasonable person among them. This person was none other than Karkit. Don't you think you're going a bit too far? No matter what the Milky Way Lord is, he's still our sovereign. We've come to the Ancestral Dragon Tribe. It's one thing for the human race not to help each other, but do you really want to kick us when we're down? Easy for you to say. If Supremacy Crimson Flame attacks, which one of us is his match? Someone sneered coldly. Go notify the other sovereigns. If you want to go, then go. In any case, we're not going. Karkit stared blankly at the human race's sovereigns. Their cold indifference was chilling. It was just like when he'd been expelled from the Mercenary Alliance. Those sovereigns and highnesses had hit him while he was down. Karkit gnashed his teeth and glared at Yi Zichen, then dashed outside without looking back. He had to find the other sovereigns, and it had to be sovereigns with over 1 billion points. He couldn't shout. If he did, he would expose his position. If Supremacy Crimson Flame truly wanted to kill Yi Zichen, then he wouldn't allow anyone to call for reinforcements. Milky Way Lord, you have to hold on. I'll be back soon. Cough. Ugh. Yi Zichen took Supremacy Crimson Flame's punch head on. The punch sent him flying over 1,000 meters away. When he landed on the ground, blood gushed out of his mouth, and he leaned against a rock as if he was about to lose consciousness. Yeezy! Bailey popped out and patted Yi Zichen, who had coughed up blood and was leaning against a rock. Yeezy, wake up! At that moment, Yi Zichen's mouth, nose, ears, and eyes were all bleeding. Yeezy, hurry up and wake up. You can't fall down here. Wake up! Something went terribly wrong. Bailey, who was standing on Yi Zichen's shoulder, was completely flustered. Supremacy Crimson Flame's punch just now had caught Yi Zichen completely off guard. After burning his points to pull Yi Zichen into the same level as him, a punch with the strength of a sovereign's was completely aimed at taking Yi Zichen's life. That punch had severely damaged all of Yi Zichen's organs. All of his bodily functions were on the verge of collapse. All of his meridians had been destroyed. Simply put, Yi Zichen was in grave danger. Chapter 3039. Red Packet Server, Chapter 3034. You see, This is the coldness of the human race. Please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 3040. Are the humans cold? At least in this instant, when Bailey chose to self-destruct as the machine race, the coldness of these majesties and highnesses was vividly displayed. Everyone was watching coldly from the sidelines. Not to mention helping, no one even went to find the sovereigns. They just watched silently with a hint of mockery in their eyes. They watched the Milky Way Lord die in an assassination. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was already a good thing that they didn't kick him when he was down. Scarlet Flame, what are you doing? Several human venerables ran over from outside the northern campus and shouted angrily. This is none of your business. Don't be a busybody. Supremacy Scarlet Flames looked coldly at the Supremacies. The Milky Way Overlord will definitely die today. Scarlet Flame, what are you yelling for? If you keep yelling, you won't be able to threaten me without burning 1,000,000,000 points. His words stunned all the Supremacies who came here. That's right, the Ancestral Dragon Clan used points to determine who was stronger. As long as Supremacy Scarlet Flame had no hostility towards them, then the protection from burning points would not be applied to them. Even if they had incredible cultivation, they could only stand there and watch. Supremacy Scarlet Flame, don't do anything stupid. The Milky Way Lord is very important in the human race. He has the inheritance of the Milky Way Lord and is the future hope of the human race. It's because I know that I have to kill this hope. Supremacy Scarlet Flame laughed recklessly, then waved his hand and sent the sovereigns in front of him flying. The sovereigns in front of Yizichin didn't even have the ability to resist. Bailey, who just had a sliver of hope, felt despair once again when he saw the sovereigns being sent flying. Why? Why is it like this? You can't protect him. Supremacy Scarlet Flame laughed coldly. Bailey could only clench his fist. If you take one more step forward. What if I take one more step forward? Supremacy Scarlet Flame continued to advance. So what if you self-destruct after losing your original body? You can just self-destruct and let me see just how much you can hurt me. I don't know how much I can hurt you, but if you take one more step forward, I know you might turn into an ice sculpture. Suddenly, a cold wind blew across the northern campus. In an instant, the entire northern campus turned into ice and snow. The sudden drop in temperature caused all the spectators to shiver uncontrollably. Shortly after, everyone saw a blue-eyed, arrogant Ice Queen walk out from the snowstorm. Her brows were slightly furrowed. With every step she took, the ice beneath her feet seemed to solidify a little more. However, this was not the most shocking thing. The most shocking thing was that there was also a long line of points above her head. 400 billion. 100 billion. Are they from the Ancestral Dragon Clan? The Ancestral Dragon Clan is here to help the Milky Way Overlord? How could this be? The surrounding human race highnesses and highnesses subconsciously thought that the person who came was an expert of the Ancestral Dragon race. If he was a human, how could he obtain so many points in such a short period of time? The Ancestral Dragon Clan's young prodigies could not help but frown. Their thoughts were similar to the human race. They thought that the person who came should be from their Ancestral Dragon race. Sulua. Bailey heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, someone from his side had arrived. He's a venerable one. A venerable one? I really want to see just how strong a venerable one is. Sulu glanced at Yizichin, then retracted her gaze. When she looked at Supremacy Scarlet Flame, her gaze was as cold as winter. A human venerable has come to assassinate the human race's highness. What a loving family. This has nothing to do with your Ancestral Dragon race. Supremacy Scarlet Flame frowned. Ancestral Dragon race? Do you think I'm from the Ancestral Dragon race? Sulu sighed. Fine. You can think whatever you want. You've come at the perfect time. I've been suppressing a bellyful of anger for the past 2 days, so having a venerable one like you out is not bad. Extreme freeze. Sulu's breath instantly shot towards Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Along the way, all the buildings, the ground, and even the moisture in the air were frozen solid. Supremacy Scarlet Flame raised his arms in front of him. Even though he was a venerable, his body was covered in layers of frost. General, you're only at the general level, but you have such control over ice. Supremacy Scarlet Flame was shocked. Su Lu's eyes revealed a hint of disdain. So, this is a venerable? You're not as strong as I thought. You've really disappointed me. Just as Su Lu finished speaking, roar of frost. In the void, an ice dragon condensed from solid ice suddenly appeared. Roar! The ice dragon's eyes flashed with a dazzling light as it charged towards Supremacy Scarlet Flame. In an instant, Supremacy Scarlet Flame's body burst into flames. The roaring ice dragon turned into water droplets in midair, which then condensed into ice. However, the flames on Supremacy Scarlet Flame's body melted them into water until they turned into white steam. With your current strength, you're actually able to comprehend ice like this. I've never even heard of it. You should be proud of yourself. Supremacy Scarlet Flame's entire body was covered in scorching flames, making him look like a god of fire. He looked down at Su Lu, who was covered in ice and snow. Is that so? Ice spikes. However, Supremacy Scarlet Flame didn't even move. The ice spikes, protruding from the ground, instantly melted into a puddle of water. No matter how Su Lu tried to condense them, the water couldn't freeze. I spread. Supremacy. It's not as simple as you think, Junior. Supremacy Scarlet Flame smiled as he grabbed the climbing ice spikes. Drop after drop of water dripped from his palm to the ground. Give up. With that, Supremacy Scarlet Flame didn't even look at Su Lu. No matter how she attacked, everything within 10 meters of him would turn into steam. This was extreme fire. Burn everything. Stop right there. Su Lu, who was standing on an ice lotus, charged forward, only to see Supremacy Scarlet Flame gently raise his finger. Several fireballs shot towards her. Just as Su Lu dodged, Supremacy Scarlet Flame suddenly sped up. Don't! Su Lu shrieked shrilly. At that very moment, a golden dragon tore through the air and slammed its tail into Supremacy Scarlet Flame's face, sending him flying several hundred meters into the air. In the blink of an eye, the golden dragon coiled around Yi Zichen and roared angrily. Great healing technique. Su Lu pouted. A jade-green light shone from Yi Zichen's direction. Then the image of the goddess of life appeared in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several figures appeared around the golden dragon in an instant. What everyone found unbelievable was that all of them, without exception, had points burning above their heads. 400 billion. Chapter 3041. Gasp. No matter who it was, anyone who was watching from the surroundings couldn't help but gasp when they saw the long string of numbers in the air. 400 billion. In the ancestral dragon clan, there were very few people who possessed over 100 million points. More than 1 billion was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Right now, nearly 10 people with 400 billion points had appeared in front of them. All of them burned their points and stood in front of Yi Zichen. The scene was truly shocking. Oh my god, so many 400 billion. Are these the Galactic Lord's team? Where did they get these points from? The Galactic Lords must be cheating. He definitely cheated. The head of the Virtual World Corporation and the head of the Universe Union Bank gave him points. Yes, otherwise he wouldn't have so many points. Also, look, how come there are so many people in his team? Including that tool race person with 30 billion burning above his head. There are actually 11 people in his team. Didn't the Ancestral Dragon Clan send at most 10 people? Cheating, he's cheating. The discussion went from one after another, from the initial shock to the final accusation that the Milky Way Lord was cheating. Phew! Bailey, who was already prepared to self-detonate and fight to the death, let out a breath. They're finally here. Life healing. Revive. Su Yen, who had an enormous illusory image of the goddess of life behind her, was glowing with a jade-green light. Robes woven from flowers and grass even appeared around her. On his head was a platinum crown inlaid with emerald-green gems of life. Godhead possession. When she saw Yi Zichen bleeding from every orifice, Su Yin couldn't care less about anything else. His identity as a Protoss had been exposed. That was all she cared about. She wanted to save Yizichin. That was why as soon as she arrived, she immediately activated her healing abilities to the max and used her true body as the goddess of life to heal Yizichin. Return of spring. Revive. The surging vitality spread out to the surroundings. Even the surrounding onlookers felt their cells brimming with vitality when they were illuminated by the light of life. Yezi's condition is terrible. Bailey, who ran back to Yizichin's shoulder, said, I know. Su Yan furrowed her brows and bit her lips. Please don't disturb me. I need to focus on healing Yizi. When it came to healing, Su Yan was definitely the best in the entire team. Hearing Su Yan's voice, Bailey did not say anything else. He knew that Su Yan would definitely be able to sense Yizichin's current situation with her strength. Oh my god, a dragon! At the same time, the onlookers also exclaimed. A golden dragon coiled around Yizichin. The dragon's enormous golden eyes gradually turned blood red as it stared intently at Supremacy Crimson Flame. Dragon Clan. Even the Dragon Clan has come to the ancestral Dragon Clan? I know, this gold dragon is from the Milky Way Lord's team. Someone in the crowd shouted. Last time when the Milky Way Lord and Karkat played, a golden dragon appeared. It's actually a dragon. Exclamations rose and fell. Even to the universe's human race, the dragon race was a very rare race. As an ancient divine beast clan, the Dragon Clan's activity area was limited to their dragon domain. It was rare to see them in the humans' living area. If you can capture a dragon to be your mount, are you crazy? I heard that this golden dragon is the woman of the Milky Way Overlord. You want to capture her to be your mount? Soon someone scolded, What are you thinking? I want to capture her just because she's the Milky Way Lord's woman. Someone in the crowd laughed. I ride her during the day, and she rides me at night. Isn't that great? You really aren't picky at all. Actually, it's not bad. Since the Milky Way Lord is going to die, no one can protect her. Capturing her isn't that big of a deal. Obscenities came out of the mouths of these human princes and their majesties. Their words chilled the hearts of the onlookers to the extreme. You're seeking death, Meng Luo shouted with bloodshot eyes. Little brat, who said that just now? If you have the guts, say it again. I'll kill your entire family. Oh, there's a little sister Loli as well. A young man grinned and walked out from the crowd of human race His Majesty. Little sister, you're also the Milky Way Lord's woman? TSK, TSK, TSK. The Milky Way Lord is so lucky. Unfortunately, he's short-lived. How about you come with me? My clan is one of the top clans in the human race. Come serve me. That's right. Why follow the Milky Way Lord? There are so many good big brothers waiting for you here. Don't worry about the Milky Way Lord. If he's going to die, he's going to die. Aren't there plenty of men out there? We don't mind you, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The flame rat's eyes reddened. Before Meng Luo could speak, Bayu grabbed her in the flame rat's arms. Don't worry about them. Right now, we have to worry about that supremacy. That's right. Let them talk. Once Yizichin recovers, we'll go look for them. Hua, Jianro muttered. What's wrong, little sister? Why aren't you saying anything? Ha ha ha, how pitiful. The Milky Way Lord is going to die, just like that. Good job. The onlookers were still making sarcastic remarks, and some even cupped their hands towards Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Senior, thank you so much. Every word was so ear-piercing. They were like steel needles stabbing into the hearts of Yizichin's team. From cheating at the start to cursing them, none of the humans had a single good word to say about the Milky Way Lord. Not even a word of concern or admiration. It was as if they didn't feel the slightest bit of pity. There was only coldness. Yizichin couldn't sense any human emotion from them at all. Who would have thought that in a foreign land, the people hitting him when he was down weren't foreigners, but their fellow humans? Although the ancestral dragon youths were cold, at least they didn't mock him. This was the human race of the universe. What a human race. Is the Milky Way Lord so hated by the humans? Who knows? Even so, those humans are going overboard. It's one thing for them to not help when their fellow humans are being assassinated, but how can they say such things? They're indeed going overboard. If I were the one standing there, I would definitely be bitterly disappointed. Who cares? In any case, It's not our ancestral dragon clan's business. Among the onlookers, the factions were very clear. Those people were clearly hitting him when he was down. They were happy to see the Milky Way Lord in trouble, so they mocked him and cursed him. Of course, there were also those who were calm. They simply watched from the sidelines and didn't get involved, but they didn't hit him when he was down. Another group were the ancestral dragon youths. The Milky Way Lord. At that moment, to Yi Zichen's team's surprise, a group of people from the Hero Academy's district arrived. Their leader was actually Shi Hong. Chapter 3042. Shi Hong was terrified. When he saw the scene before him, he was completely dumbfounded. He hadn't expected this. Not long ago, he'd heard that the Milky Way Lord had been assassinated. At first, he didn't believe it. He really didn't like the Milky Way Lord because he'd stolen his favorite woman, Baiyu. Even if they'd never interacted before, his father had indeed come to propose marriage. What's more, Baiyu's look were top-notch in the entire human race. He was very satisfied with the marriage. Yet, just as they were about to succeed, Yi Zichen popped up. He'd ruined the marriage. To Shi Hong, this was the same as stealing his woman right in front of his face. How could he tolerate it? Furthermore, the Mercenary Alliance and Virtual World Corporation were enemies, while the Milky Way Galaxy was their ally. Because of this, his hatred for Yi Zichen grew stronger and stronger. If possible, he wanted to make the Milky Way Lord suffer. Although he had a bottom line. This was the bottom line of fellow humans. Their enmity was between the two of them, but if they were fellow humans in the universe, then their enmity wasn't even worth mentioning. After learning that the Milky Way Lord had been assassinated, although he was suspicious, he'd still rushed over. On the way, he still didn't quite believe it. This was the Hero Academy, where human sovereigns and overlords resided. Choosing to carry out an assassination here was the stupidest decision of them all. But when he saw it with his own eyes, how could this be? Shi Hong stared in shock at the bleeding Milky Way Lord, then turned to Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Supremacy Scarlet Flame? Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Aren't you a supremacy of the Virtual World Corporation? Why did you kill your majesty? Aren't you afraid that leader Wenli will kill you? When they heard this, everyone froze. They all knew how deep the conflict between Shi Hong and the Milky Way Lord was. They'd even sent out a strategy team just to cause trouble for the Milky Way Lord. None of them would have guessed that Shi Hong was speaking up for the Milky Way Lord. Yi Zichen's team froze as well. They could understand if any of the human race's highnesses or highnesses spoke up for Yi Zichen. Only Lion Hong did. While everyone else was incomparably cold, he stood up for Yi Zichen. Shi Hong, what about me? Lion Hong looked back at Meng Luo and the others, then raised his eyebrows. Why do you have so many points? Didn't we talk about points? Is the Galaxy Lord dead or not? What's going on with your Virtual World Corporation? Meng Luo, Baiyu, Supremacy Scarlet Flame, is your corporation's supremacy. He killed your corporation's majesty. So what is your corporation doing? Just as Lion Hong's voice fell, the surrounding people's gazes suddenly changed. Meng Luo, Baiyu. Why does this name sound so familiar? Someone muttered in a low voice, and in an instant, someone shouted out. Planet Yin's 4 great families. Boom! Everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Those who had been spewing obscenities were so scared that their legs were trembling uncontrollably. It's over. They were dead meat. They had actually dared to take liberties with the daughters of Planet Yin's 4 great families. Say something. Lion Hong glared at Meng Luo and the others and shouted, What is your Virtual World Corporation thinking? Was the Galactic Lord really assassinated, or was it just an act? As soon as he finished speaking, Lion Hong looked at the other spectators in the surroundings. What are you guys doing? Watching the show? Do you guys have any conscience? A fellow human is being assassinated, yet you guys are just standing there and watching? Where are you guys from? If your family heads know about your conduct, will you still be able to keep your majesty and highness positions when you return? Lion Hong, you should leave. At this moment, Hua, Jinro sighed. There's nothing for you to do here. We appreciate your intentions. Why should I leave? Lion Hong shouted angrily. How can I watch you guys die? Are you guys joking? Even if the Galactic Lord dies, he will die in my hands. Can you save that healer? Before Sure Hong could finish speaking, his brows suddenly furrowed. That healer? What is that square above your head? Godhead. At this moment, Supremacy Scarlet Flame smiled. Lion Hong, that woman has a godhead above her head. I don't need to explain further. She is from the celestial race. Celestial race. The spectators, who had just quieted down, started discussing again. Gulp. Standing in the middle, Lion Hong could not help but swallow his saliva. Of course, he did not need Supremacy Scarlet Flame to explain. Celestial race. In the human universe, it was tacitly agreed to kill them all. There's a huge problem with the configuration of your group. Lion Hong frowned. Dragon race, celestial race. What exactly is the identity of this galactic lord? How did he, Lion Hong, leave? This has nothing to do with you. Moreover, I am acquainted with your father. Don't be self-absorbed. Supremacy Scarlet Flame said softly. I'm not leaving. Lion Hong frowned and angrily rebuked. Supremacy Scarlet Flame, I don't care about this now. That healer is from a celestial race. This matter will naturally be settled by the Supremacy Association. Why did the Galactic Lord have relations with the celestial race? This matter needs to be judged by the Supremacy Association. Even if he needs to die, he should die by the Supremacy Association's judgment and not by you. Why do you want to kill him? Don't tell me that you already knew about his relationship with the celestial race. Are you a spy from the outer races? Get out of my way. Why should I get out of my way? Lion Hong furrowed his brows as he looked at Supremacy Scarlet Flame. You want to assassinate my human race's majesty, the Galactic Lord. Do you think I, Lion Hong, don't care about my face? My father is the heavenly lion overlord. He has never seen any of his fellow humans suffer. As his son, I will not allow you to continue. Don't you have a grudge with the Galactic Lord? There are so many majesties who don't care. Why you care about this matter? Our grudges are our matters. Those majesties don't care about it. This has nothing to do with me. Lion Hong narrowed his eyes and said softly, I only do what I want to do. If you want to kill the Galactic Lord, then you can kill me first. I won't resist. Even if I do, I won't be your match. Just kill me. Meng Luo and the rest fell silent. No matter what, they would never have imagined that the person standing in front of them would be Lion Hong. They would never have imagined that Lion Hong would be such a person. Rather than adding flowers to brocade, it was better to send charcoal in snowy weather. Under the cold gazes of the other majesties, Lion Hong's righteous words caused his image to change greatly in the hearts of Meng Luo and the rest. Fine, since you're seeking death, then you can die too. Just as Supremacy Scarlet Flame finished speaking, his hands and feet were suddenly bound, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Soon after, everyone saw a fairy-like woman slowly descending from the void. Let's stop here. Chapter 3043. Blue Lotus Fairy. Meng Luo, who was standing guard in front of Yi Zichen, revealed a joyful smile. With Blue Lotus Fairy's control over secret techniques, even overlords were no match for her. If it was Meng Luo and the others, they might have a hard time against Supremacy Scarlet Flame. With Blue Lotus Fairy here, they could be completely at ease. Of course, they would also remember that Sure Hong had bought a lot of time for them. How is the Milky Way Lord? Blue Lotus Fairy asked softly. Su Yan, who was focused on healing Yi Zichen, did not reply. Blue Lotus Fairy merely took a glance, then nodded without saying anything else, then walked in front of Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Kill me. Supremacy Scarlet Flame, who was restrained by the laws of the universe, roared. Blue Lotus Fairy shook her head. I won't kill you. You are a supremacy. Your life and death should not be decided by me. Kill me. Supremacy Scarlet Flame continued to shout. Blue Lotus Fairy looked down emotionlessly at him, then waved her hand. No matter how loudly Venerable Scarlet Flame shouted, no sound came out of his mouth. AI, Blue Lotus Fairy, who finished off Supremacy Scarlet Flame, sighed towards the surrounding supremacies and highnesses. Her sigh was filled with disappointment towards them. Are you even worthy of being human? Actually, she shouldn't have said this if it was her identity. She really couldn't control herself. She had been there the entire time. She had arrived the moment Yi Zichen was heavily injured by supremacy Scarlet Flame. The reason why she didn't act right away was very simple. It wasn't time for her to act yet. She had been observing in secret. He observed everyone's words and actions, as well as their every move. That was her job as an observer. This was the result of her observation. Even though she shouldn't be affected by anything, she still felt angry. Blue Lotus Fairy sighed again, then no longer looked at them. Entering the virtual network. Ding. Octagonal table meeting. Blue Lotus Fairy sent a video. Everyone, take a look. The head of the Supremacy Association showed them the video Blue Lotus Fairy sent. The video showed the Milky Way Lord being attacked, and the cold words of the human supremacies. This is the generation that carries our hopes. Everyone, do you see that? Your majesties and majesties, this is their attitude. Wenli, you've been the most active person in the meeting these days. Some of your people are here, right? Yes. Wenli nodded. Forget about the people from the Mercenary Alliance. At the very least, you two are still enemies on the outside. But your Majesty and Her Highness of the Virtual World Corporation are still like this. The head of the Paragon Association smiled and shook his head. What a dumbfounding sight. How disappointing. I've embarrassed myself in front of everyone. Wenli whispered. At this time, Wenli couldn't make sarcastic remarks. Now it was the people in her group who had a problem. Others might not know that in this video, not only were there people from the Virtual World Corporation among the spectators, there were also people from the Virtual World Corporation among those who were cursing. She felt very ashamed. Her Majesty and Her Highness had done such a thing. The people in the video, you can deal with them yourselves. The head of the Paragon Association let out a long sigh. These people, especially those who were cursing, are no longer fit to hold the position of Majesties and Her Highness. As for those spectators, you can consider them. Whether you want to educate them or remove their identities, you can decide for yourselves. Don't you feel that the most interesting part of this video is at the end? The head of the Elixir Guild asked. Indeed, Blue Emperor nodded. The son of the Heavenly Lion Overlord, Lion Hong, has a conflict with the Milky Way Overlord. However, he is the one who is most determined to stand in front of the Milky Way Overlord. He has indeed inherited the character of the Heavenly Lion Overlord. Although he has flaws in his character is still passable. I suggest to add 10 points to Lion Hong. Is there a problem? The head of the Paragon Association asked. No. The heads of the octagonal table agreed unanimously. Now that the plan has succeeded, Wenli, prepare to send people into the Ancestral Dragon Tribe. The head of the Paragon Association said. All right, this time, sending people into the Ancestral Dragon Tribe is extremely important to our future plans. There must not be any problems. I know. I don't need you to remind me of that. Then I won't say any more. With that, the head of the Paragon Association turned off the video. To everyone's surprise, none of them mentioned a single word about Su Yan's godhead. Yi Zichen's treatment continued. Su Yan's forehead was already covered in sweat. In order to pull Yi Zichen back from the gates of the underworld, she'd given it her all. Yi Zichen's injuries were far too severe. Given Su Yan's current strength, it wasn't difficult for her to treat an army of hundreds of thousands of people. However, she'd practically used up all the life force stored within her godhead to treat Yi Zichen. Of course, that was partly because she hadn't been frugal. When she saw Yi Zichen in such a state, how could she possibly keep calculating her life force consumption? All she wanted to do was help Yi Zichen recover as quickly as possible, no matter the cost. Cough. Suddenly, Yi Zichen coughed violently, then coughed up a mouthful of black blood. Great God! Everyone crowded around him. Yi Zichen slowly regained consciousness and looked up. You're all here? Yi Zichen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he sensed the abundant life force in his body. Then he saw the godhead above Su Yan's head. Su Yan, what's wrong? Don't say anything. Su Yan knit her brows and continuously poured pure life force into Yi Zichen's body. I know what you want to say, but I don't care anymore. Yeah, great God, just now you... Meng Luo bit her lips, unable to get the words out. Yi Zichen's condition was far too frightening. Don't worry. Even if Su Yan's identity as a member of the god race is exposed, No one can touch her. Baiyu bit his lips. Baiyu bit his lips and said, I promise you. Yeah, I promise you as well. If anyone dares to touch big sister Su Yin, the Spirit Rabbit clan will fight them to the death. Thank you. Yi Zichen instinctively reached out to pat Meng Luo's head, but the moment he did, a heart-wrenching pain caused him to tremble uncontrollably. Don't move, Su Yin said solemnly. Your injuries are severe. All of your arteries and veins are broken, and your organs are severely damaged as well. Just sit here and lean on Kiki, all right? Su Yin sounded like she was about to cry. Yi Zichen sensed everyone's worried gazes and sighed. Sorry for the trouble. Chapter 3044. Yi Zichen really didn't expect an assassination to happen so suddenly. It was all his fault. After coming to the ancestral dragon tribe, he had let his guard down because of the accumulated points. The rule here was that points were more important than anything else. He really didn't know that point burn could ignore 400 billion points. It was very dangerous. In other words, if someone really wanted to kill you, they only needed to have 1 billion points. Where's Coco? Yi Zichen frowned, then felt the sky above him darken. An enormous dragon head looked down at him. I'm here. You've transformed? Yi Zichen didn't lie at all. Just then, he noticed Xia Kiki, who had taken human form. You should thank Kiki properly. If it wasn't for her tail, you'd probably be dead by now. Su Luer crossed her arms and said coldly, Big Sister Luer, you're here too. How can I not come? Su Luer snorted coldly. In a short time I was gone, I heard someone tried to assassinate you. You deserve it. Who asked you to be so annoying? Su Luer saved you. Bailey reminded Yi Zichen in his mind. I know. Yi Zichen smiled. At that time, he still had a sliver of consciousness and could roughly sense the situation outside. However, that sliver of consciousness gradually weakened over time and finally disappeared completely. Where's the person who tried to assassinate me? Outside. Hua Jinro pouted towards the outside. Blue Lotus deity is looking at her. He seems to be the venerable one of the Virtual World Corporation. He needs to wait for the people of the Virtual World Corporation to come and deal with this matter. In other words, the Virtual World Corporation will send people to the ancestral dragon tribe. Not sure. Hua Jinro shrugged her shoulders. Anyway, Fairy Blue Lotus said that the Virtual World Corporation will handle it. As for how it will be handled, I don't know. Are you awake? At this moment, Blue Lotus deity walked over from afar with her arms crossed and a smile in her eyes. You're quite tenacious. You're still alive. Heaven helps the worthy. Perhaps the master of the universe felt that my life wasn't meant to end, so he sent his emissaries to save me. Both of you are the angels of my life. Fairy Blue Lotus, you too. Yi Zichen chuckled. Your angel doesn't want to talk to you. Blue Lotus Fairy also said half-jokingly. By the way, how should we deal with Venerable Scarlet Flame? Just now, Hua Jinro said that we need someone from the Virtual World Corporation to deal with this matter. That's right. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded without saying anything. He's a venerable one, although your status is also very high. As a venerable one, you can't just casually execute him. Moreover, his motive for assassinating you is still unclear. We need to bring him back and interrogate him properly. I see. Yi Zichen nodded. This assassination is actually a good thing for you. Fairy Blue Lotus says in a low voice. At least it will let you realize how terrible your current situation is. Be more vigilant in the future. Who knows, you might really die one day. It's not easy to resist a venerable one's attack. You might be able to withstand it this time, but you might not be able to do it next time. I know. Venerable Crimson Flame's punch had come so suddenly that Yi Zichen had to admit that he hadn't been able to react in time. However, the 5 elements elemental spirits and the time elemental spirit had sensed it and blocked more than 60% of the impact for him. They were all in a deep sleep at the moment, and the power of 60% of a venerable made them uncomfortable. As for the remaining 40% of divinity, it negated 30%. In other words, he had only blocked 10% of the attack. Even so, he was still beaten to the point of near death. It was obvious just how terrifying the power of a venerable one was. His life was about to come to an end with just a single breath. However, he was very lucky that he was able to survive. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that even if venerable Crimson Flame used a bit more power, Yi Zichen would already be a dead man. Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. That's right. Being heavily injured to the point of near death was indeed a misfortune, but surviving was a blessing. Oh yeah, great deity, when you were unconscious, those people said really nasty things. Meng Luo bit her lips angrily. Nasty? Meng Luo. Hua Jianrou shook her head towards Meng Luo. Seeing that, Yi Zichen frowned even more. Speak. Why are you hiding it? Tell me everything they said. Just now Meng Luo, who was unable to hide anything, told Yi Zichen everything. Yi Zichen frowned, then glanced at Her Majesties and Her Majesties outside. What a joke. He didn't know what happened when he lost consciousness, but after hearing Meng Luo's explanation, the only thing he felt was that it was ridiculous. The human race. Laughing at the human race. Such a cold race didn't even help each other in this sort of situation. It was easy to imagine what the human race would become when the human race faced a difficult situation in the future. They only cared about themselves, hitting others when they were in trouble. Watching coldly from the side. It wasn't that Yi Zichen cursed the human race, but if this continued, then the human race's destruction would be inevitable. Have you recorded down all the people who used foul language? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. Meng Luo nodded, then pointed at her own head. I remembered all of them. Not a single one was left out. They are all in my head. All right, I'll deal with them later. No need. Surprisingly, the one who spoke up was Bai Yu. She shook her head with a frown. You don't need to worry about this. We will deal with it ourselves. Yes, we will deal with it ourselves. The flame rat's eyes were filled with rage. The flame rat also remembered all the people who said nasty things to Meng Luo and Kiki. He definitely couldn't just let this go. His gloomy eyes glanced at His Majesty and His Highness from afar. The geniuses who already knew of the flame rat's identity felt their hearts chill when they saw the rat's gaze. Oh no, they really did cause a huge disaster. Right now, their only hope was that their own factions would be able to protect them. What they didn't know was that the 8 major heads had already begun to remove them from the list. People had to pay the price for their words and actions. This was true at all times. Since they'd chosen to say those things, then they had to learn to accept the consequences. However, they never would have guessed that the consequences would be so severe. Their titles would be revoked, and the wrath of Planet Yin's 4 great families. If Meng Luo, Bai Yu, and Hua Jianrou just said what the humans had said without exaggeration, the families behind them would be able to make those people's families fall into eternal damnation. The 4 great families were practically on par with the 8 major heads. Even first-rate families were insignificant before them. Chapter 3045. Red Packet Server, Chapter 3040. Negotiation. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 3046. Red Packet Super, Chapter 3041. Hidden Secrets. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 3047. That was the end of the negotiation. The Lord of Justice left the campus on a cloud. After he left, the young talents of the ancestral dragon clan and the teachers who arrived later finally dared to raise their heads. Let's go as well. Fairy Blue Lotus looked around and noticed that there were quite a few Her Majesties and Her Highnesses who seemed to want to say something but were hesitant. They seem to be looking for you guys. Hearing that, Yi Zichen and company also looked over. When they noticed their gazes, the lords and highnesses all subconsciously lowered their heads. Hey, it's fine. We'll deal with them slowly in the future. It was just a simple sentence. The lords and highnesses of the northern campus all felt like they fell into an icy pit. Just as Yi Zichen and company were about to leave, he saw that Lion Hong and his subordinates were there. Meng Luo naturally mentioned Lion Hong's actions. Yi Zichen was very surprised when he heard that. He really didn't expect Lion Hong to have a bottom line as a human. Yi Zichen's impression of Lion Hong changed greatly due to that, but that didn't mean that they could coexist peacefully. Many of Lion Hong's actions, for example, bullying Shan, pressuring and using violence against his teammates, all of those were things that Yi Zichen hated. Thank you. Yi Zichen nodded towards Lion Hong. No matter what Yi Zichen's attitude towards him was, Lion Hong did help him. That was undeniable, so Yi Zichen should thank him. Huh. Lion Hong merely snorted coldly without any surprise. You're welcome. Don't think too much about it. I only did that because you're a human. I would have done the same for anyone else. I hate you, and that has never changed. Same to you. Yi Zichen smiled, then brushed past Lion Hong. It was very clear the simple conversation between the two was enough for both sides to understand each other. Turn enemies into friends? Don't even think about it. Sometimes, disliking someone is deeply ingrained in one's bones, but the greater good of the race trumps the conflict between the two sides. That was also why there were many situations like this among the higher-ups of the human race. When faced with a huge problem for the human race, everyone could fight against a common enemy, but their private relationships were extremely bad, and they even wished for the other party to die. This was human nature, something that seemed simple but was actually very complicated. Then, Yi Zichen's team left. The negotiation was completely over. However, the content of the negotiation left a deep impression in everyone's hearts. He believed that when they returned, they would definitely discuss this matter with their friends about the series of problems that arose after Lord Piercer of the Galaxy was assassinated. The young prodigies of the ancestral dragon tribe discussed among themselves as they walked side by side. The faces of the human race's high lords and highnesses were all ashen. What should they do? From a conversation between the Blue Lotus Fairy and the God of Justice, one could tell that the human race valued the Milky Way overlord very much. Yet, they had mocked and ridiculed him with such filthy language. It could be said that they had no idea at all. His Majesty Lion Flood. In their despair, everyone placed their hopes on Lion Hong. Everyone knew about the grudge between Lion Hong and the Milky Way overlord. There might still be a chance to seek refuge with him. You guys are really disappointing. What made everyone pale with fright was that Lion Hong actually looked at them coldly. No matter what, the Milky Way overlord is still our human race's high lord. You guys are just going to sit back and do nothing? Is this what your clan's elders taught you? His Majesty Lion Hong. How can you speak up for the Milky Way overlord? You and him, we do have grudges. Grudges are grudges. Righteousness is righteousness. If you guys can't even distinguish this, don't blame me for speaking harshly. I reckon that your highnesses and highnesses will probably lose their titles soon. Lion Hong snorted coldly. Too stupid. Really, I find your actions laughable. I reckon that if your clan's elders knew that you guys were actually so cold, they would probably clean themselves up. Of course, if your clan's elders are also like this, then pretend that I didn't say anything. The human race's crown princes couldn't even utter a single word after hearing what he said. Glancing at them coldly, Lion Hong waved his hand and left the campus with his team members. The entire northern campus instantly became silent. At this moment, only the human race high lords and highnesses were left. What's there to be afraid of? Can the Milky Way overlord kill us? At most, we'll be punished a bit. So what? Don't forget, we're all highnesses and highnesses. We're the absolute elites chosen from the billions of people of a human race. Yeah, we're all human geniuses. Even the Milky Way overlord and the 4 races of Eenstar can't do anything to us. His words seemed to have ignited the low spirits of all the high lords and princes. More and more people nodded their heads, their voices rising and falling one after another. Actually, there was nothing they could do at that moment. They could only say things like that to temporarily numb the fear in their hearts. As for the result, who knows? Suyen, I'm really fine. Yi Zichen returned to his room and sat down on his bed with a wry smile. Suyen sat beside him, her eyes filled with worry, along with a room full of people. Lord, please punish us. Winnie bit her lips and walked over with Aelin beside her. Punish you for what? Yi Zichen looked at the two of them in surprise. Winnie said solemnly, "The two of us were ordered to protect you as guards, but we caused you to be so heavily injured." "That's it." Yi Zichen couldn't help but chuckle. Then he muttered, "All right, then let me ask you this. If you were here, and Supremacy Scarlet Flame suddenly burned his points to attack me, would the two of you be able to stop him?" Winnie instantly pursed her lips and didn't say anything else. "You can't answer, right?" Yi Zichen smiled softly. "None of us in the team could stop Supremacy Scarlet Flame if he wanted to kill me. I'm not saying that the two of you aren't strong enough. What I want to say is, it was unavoidable. It doesn't really matter whether the two of you were there or not. What's more, it was a close shave, so don't blame yourselves too much. But, all right, that's enough." Yi Zichen cut off Winnie's words, then looked towards the others in the room. "You guys can leave. I want to rest properly. Also, I have some things I want to say to Blue Lotus Fairy." Everyone in the team would listen to Yi Zichen's requests. Hearing that, everyone left the room, leaving only Yi Zichen and Blue Lotus Fairy in the room. "Say it. Are you going to say it, or do I have to ask? You decide." Chapter 3048. Within the spacious bedroom, it was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping would be ear-piercing. Blue Lotus and Yi Zichen looked at each other. If an outsider saw this, they would think that they were a pair of lovers looking at each other passionately. However, as the people involved, they knew very well that wasn't the case. "I didn't expect you to be so sharp." After a long silence, Blue Lotus Fairy broke the silence in the room. Immediately after, she snapped her fingers, and the entire room was enveloped by a mysterious power. Based on Yi Zichen's many years of experience, this seemed to be some sort of seal. "Please allow me to do this. There's a kitty eavesdropping outside. There are some things they shouldn't know." With that said, Blue Lotus Fairy pulled over a chair and sat down, crossing her legs. Her fair, supple legs glowed under the sunlight. They were very alluring, but Yi Zichen didn't even glance at them. The only thing he wanted to know was the truth. "What do you want to ask? You didn't come here to teach, did you?" Yi Zichen's gaze was solemn. "The way I see it, you didn't come to the Ancestral Dragon Clan just to teach. You came here for something else." "How did I find out?" "From your usual behavior," said Yi Zichen. "Actually, I've been paying attention to you. Of course, I won't act smart and say that I've been observing you in secret. I can't rule out the possibility that you intentionally let me see you. I noticed that you've actually been doing some sort of investigation against the Ancestral Dragon Clan's lords and highnesses. Am I right? Anything else? Also, you occasionally reveal an aura that doesn't match your usual state. For example, when I was captured by the Ancestral Dragon Clan, or when you warned us about the trial hall, or just now. Was there a problem with that?" Blue Lotus Deity smiled and shrugged. "Everything I did just now was for Her Majesty of the human race. As a venerable of the human race, I saw that Her Majesty, the future hope of the human race, was almost killed. What's wrong with what I did?" "Blue Lotus Fairy, that's boring, isn't it?" Yi Zichen shook his head with a wry smile and a long sigh. "You must know how stupid I am to come up with such an excuse. Just now, were you negotiating with the God of Justice as a venerable? You were speaking as the representative of the entire human race in the universe. Everything you've just said is based on that special identity of yours. For example, if you call yourself our side, or perhaps you accurately reported the time when the Venerable's Guard arrived. This series of events proves that you have a special identity, and the God of Justice happens to know of this identity of yours. The two of you must have met before." Blue Lotus Deity, who was sitting on a chair, raised her eyebrows slightly. Her slender fingers, which were as fair as jade, gently pinched her head twice and involuntarily let out a sigh. "All right, I'll tell you the truth then. I'm the observer of Her Majesty and Her Highness. I'll present all of your performances here to the human race's octagonal table to evaluate you. I'll decide the amount of resources that the human race will give you after you return to the human race from the Ancestral Dragon Clan, as well as the intensity of nurturing." No, that's not everything. When Blue Lotus Deity revealed everything, even when she mentioned her identity as an observer and the purpose of the human race's octagonal table's evaluation, Yi Zichen did not seem surprised at all, nor did he pursue the matter. Instead, he looked at Blue Lotus Deity with a deep gaze. To him, what Blue Lotus Deity said was only the surface. What he wanted to know was a deeper layer of her identity. I already told you my identity. Is there anything else you're dissatisfied with? Blue Lotus Deity frowned. Milky Way Lord, don't be so suspicious. I'm telling you everything right now. No, that's not it. When Yi Zichen said that with certainty, the room fell into a long silence once again. What other identity do you think I have? Blue Lotus Deity asked softly. A higher one, Yi Zichen replied softly. Your identity should be even higher than this so-called observer. At the very least, you should be on par with the leaders of the octagonal table, or even higher. I even suspect that the leaders of the octagonal table might not be as high as you. Blue Lotus Fairy remained silent. Yi Zichen shrugged as he looked at her silent expression. Looks like this question is a bit too in-depth. Let me change to a relatively weaker question. What is the purpose of your plan this time? Using me as bait? Aren't you afraid that I'll really die? Or did you make a perfect calculation and coincidentally calculate that? I'll have one last breath left, and that's why you made such a decision. What are you talking about? Blue Lotus Fairy suddenly laughed. Assassination. Yi Zichen answered decisively. The assassination this time wasn't an accident at all. It was your plan. I am the foreshadowing of the entire plan, while your motive is to scheme against the ancestral dragon race. If there were no accidents, the number of sovereigns and overlords that would arrive in 3 days' time would not be small, and their strength would not be weak either. Let me guess, is it a 9-faced overlord or some other peak overlord? I don't understand what you're talking about. Fairy Blue Lotus smiled as she shook her head. All right, then I'll put it more bluntly. Yi Zichen pursed his lips and raised his eyebrows. Yi Zichen pursed his lips and arched his brows. Why is it that none of the hundreds of human sovereigns and overlords who've come here have come despite my assassination attempt? Oh no, I can't say that none of them came. I should say that there were a few, but unfortunately, none of them were able to save me from Supremacy Scarlet Flame. Apart from them, there was you, Blue Lotus Fairy. Apart from that, not a single venerable one came even after we left. I was assassinated. That's shocking enough, right? Why didn't those sovereigns and overlords even look at me? Do they not care about my life or death at all? Based on what you said, you used your identity as a venerable to argue for the human race. But why didn't those venerables and overlords come and speak up for me? Don't they know that their presence can put more pressure on the ancestral dragon race? I think they should understand this principle. There's only one possibility why they didn't come. They already knew that I would be assassinated, and they received the news beforehand to not act rashly and ruin your plan. They obeyed the orders of the human race's higher-ups, so they chose to ignore it. This was all part of the human race's plan, wasn't it? Not long after Yi Zichen finished speaking, Blue Lotus Fairy smiled and nodded repeatedly with a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. Milky Way Lord, you pass. Chapter 3049. Actually, Fairy Blue Lotus had been waiting all this time. She wanted to see to what extent this galactic lord, who carried the glory of the former galactic lord and became the leader of the new Milky Way, could achieve. There was no need to say more about the Milky Way. He was once the most dazzling existence of the human race. He was as dazzling as the bright moon in the sky, overshadowing the tens of thousands of stars in the universe. It could be said that people born in the era of the Milky Way Master were destined to be sad. No matter how much light they emitted, no one could see their existence. All he could see was the dazzling brilliance of the Master of the Galaxy. This trip to the ancestral dragon tribe was of great significance to the human race. That was because the human race was about to face a huge change, and this change would happen immediately after Her Majesty and Her Highness returned from the ancestral dragon tribe. With the advent of the new world, the human race needed some fresh blood to continue the glory of the human race. The people who came to the ancestral dragon clan would make up the majority of this blood. Some would say, in the vastness of the human race, there must be a lot of gold that was covered in dust. But why did he have to go to the gravel to try his luck and find a shining piece of gold when he could choose gold from the pile of gold. If gold wants to shine, it has to strive to find the light. If you don't want to be the dazzling one, then no one will bother to wipe the dust off your body. In times of peace, the human race might still have the energy to do so. Now they don't. Even if they missed out, it didn't matter. They only needed to select a certain number. You're not bad. I'm satisfied with your acuity. Of course, this acuity hasn't reached the passing line, but among the many examinees, you're considered outstanding. Actually, if you could see through Reverend Scarlet Flame's surprise attack, it will be more accurate. You think that Reverend Scarlet Flame's assassination is a scheme of the human race against the ancestral dragon clan, but it is also a test for you. It's just a pity that you didn't pass this test. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged slightly. Her expression was a little regretful. If Yizichin had been able to sense Supremacy Scarlet Flame immediately, then Blue Lotus Fairy would have been even more satisfied with him. As for the failure of the assassination, it wouldn't affect the human race's top experts entering the ancestral dragon tribe. As long as there was an assassination, the human race would definitely enter the ancestral dragon clan, because the ancestral dragon tribe could not reject it. Now, the human race's army was already pressing on their borders. A wrong decision by Zhu Ying's subordinates had caused the ancestral dragon clan to be in a completely passive position. Compared to billions of years ago, the human race was no longer that insignificant ant that needed to rely on the ancestral dragon clan to be governed. The current human race was a world that despised the 9 heavens and 10 earths. He was the leader of all living beings. The ancestral dragon clan was just a small place to the human race. If the ancestral dragon clan dared to reject them, the human race would use this reason to declare war on the ancestral dragon clan. The heroes of the ancestral dragon race all knew this logic. Therefore, they could only agree. Milky Way Lord, I've been paying attention to you for a long time. Fairy Blue Lotus said softly. Before I entered the ancestral dragon clan, I had already noticed you. The reason why I chose to come to the ancestral dragon clan was actually because of you. For me? Yizichin was confused. It's not just for you, right? Blue Lotus Fairy lazily stretched her waist and leaned back on the chair with a lazy expression. There are 7 people I'm paying attention to this time, and you're one of them. Compared to the others, your initial score is actually the lowest, but I am indeed the most interested in you. What score? Yizichin frowned. In terms of talent, opportunity, luck, background, life experience, trump cards, inheritances, and so on, your score is much lower than the others. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugged. Yizichin really didn't dare to give himself a high score for talent. He never thought of his talent as anything special, but he thought that he was pretty good in other areas. Compared to the majority of humans, he could be considered lucky. He was actually the lowest. Yizichin thought about it for a while, then understood. The human race was vast, and there were many capable people. He was just a drop in the ocean. The human race didn't lack geniuses at all. Can I know who those people are? Yizichin was curious. No, Fairy Blue Lotus refused. You don't need to know that, but I can reveal a bit of information to you. The person ranked first among you all. Who? Chunin, Blue Lotus Fairy said with a smile. He is the child of heaven's fate, the Qilin son of the great Tao. If all of the world's fate is one pebble, then he has 12, and everyone owes him 2. Do you understand? In other words, he lent your fate to you. If he wants you to return it, then you have to return it to him. What kind of monster is this? Child of heaven's fate. Is it that ridiculous? He lent everyone's fate to them, and they have to return it to him when he wants it? Truly, when the human race gets bigger, all sorts of monsters appear. Doesn't this kind of person pick up a divine artifact every time he goes out? He wants to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth with a single sneeze, and might even get tangled up in everything. He's also in the ancestral dragon clan? Fairy Blue Lotus nodded. He's in the ancestral dragon clan. It's just that I don't really like this brat. He's living too casually. He's clearly the child of heaven's fate, but he's always thinking about how to get unlucky and get rid of his luck. He doesn't accept the gifts of the heavens, doesn't cultivate, and only thinks about how to make girls happy. This kind of person is pretty much like you. Ah, yeah, pretty much like me. Blue Lotus Fairy couldn't help but laugh. She knew that Yizichin was definitely thinking about what she'd said before. She was favored by the heavens, but she became a sovereign just because she didn't cultivate. I really want to meet this child of heaven's fate and get an autograph or something. Who knows? I might even be blessed with good fortune in the future. Yizichin laughed. You've met. Met? Uh-huh, and more than once. Perhaps you didn't notice, but you really did meet. I saw it very clearly. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. Yizichin thought back. Why don't I remember? If he really is a child of heaven's fate, then he should have something special about him, right? For example, the phenomenon of the great Tao behind him, and the fact that I can hear the sound of the great Tao when I walk past him. I don't. Yizichin scratched his head, then stopped thinking about it. If fate wills it, then we'll meet again. When that time comes, I'll talk to him about whether or not I can transfer some of the fate of all living beings to him, so he can experience the thrill of prosperity. Yizichin let out a sigh, then calmed himself down. Let's return to the main topic. Okay, since even the child of heaven's fate exists among the people you chose, then why do you still like me the most? I'm telling you sincerely, I wasn't convinced when you said that I was the last at the start, but now, I'm completely convinced. I'm truly just a normal person compared to those monsters. I don't feel like there's anything about me that you should care about. You really don't. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded without giving him any face at all. All of your choices are ridiculously low and can't even compare to some of the other students that returned from the Hero Academy. However, there's one thing that completely pulled up your overall score. Pulled up one thing? Yes. Which one? Yizichin frowned in confusion. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled. That's right. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled. Trump card. Chapter 3050. Trump card. Yizichin was completely shocked. What trump card does he have? Godhead? Elemental spirit? Or maybe he doesn't have anything else. Xianyuan sword? The sword was already shattered. Although he fixed it later on, the sword spirit, Xianyuan Xiang, was currently living comfortably in the Virtual World Corporation. What else does he have? Blue Lotus Fairy. Yizichin couldn't help but smile wryly. Forgive me for my ignorance, but what do I have on me that is worthy of your evaluation? You probably know all of my trump cards. Tell me, just what trump card can allow me to be one of the 7 observers? You want to know? Blue Lotus Fairy smiled mysteriously. Yes. Secret art, 1-hit kill. Yizichin, who was on the bed, instantly stiffened. Secret art? Blue Lotus Fairy was actually referring to that secret art. Yizichin, who was completely unaware of it, was actually not surprised at all. 1-hit kill. This secret technique was indeed infuriating. Yizichin had used that secret art to establish the foundation for his expansion in the Milky Way during the early stages of the second universe. However, what was even more unbelievable was that it could be used in the first universe. Personal test. It really could be activated. You even know that. At that moment, Yizichin's gaze towards Blue Lotus Fairy was already filled with fear. That's right, there was actually a hint of fear in his heart. That fear came from Blue Lotus Fairy's information network. It seemed like there was nothing in the world that she didn't know. For example, Blue Lotus Fairy had given him a signal when he was captured last time. She also knew about Ming Xiang's identity as a member of the Emperor family. Why wouldn't I know? This secret art is mine. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled warmly. Yizichin instantly opened his eyes wide. Yours? Otherwise, who else do you think would be able to develop this sort of secret art? Blue Lotus Fairy smiled proudly. I've already said that no one is better at controlling secret arts than me in this universe. Chun-En is the child of heaven's will, while I'm more or less a girl of secret arts. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't say anything else. She was the one who developed the first part of the secret art. You developed the 1-hit kill? Uh-huh. Blue Lotus Fairy shrugs her shoulders. This secret technique was developed by me, but I could not withstand the backlash of the secret technique, so I condensed the secret technique into a secret technique ball. You can't withstand the backlash? And aren't you the daughter of the secret technique? Why did the secret technique backfire on you? Hey, you still don't understand this logic? It's xenophobic. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugs. I have grasped too many secret techniques, and they're all secret techniques of the Heaven's Path. That one-hit kill secret technique was invented by me. It was an external secret technique, so the secret technique I mastered naturally rejected it. I fought and fought with it, and in the end I suffered. So I could only bear the pain and abandon my child. Damn heartless. For the Heaven's Path secret art, he was willing to give up his own child. Come to think of it, we have a bit of a relationship. Blue Lotus Fairy suddenly revealed a bashful expression. What's the relationship? Yi Zichen felt like something was off when he saw her bashful expression. I'm the secret technique's mom. Now that the secret technique is following you, you're her dad. The two of us. Blue Lotus Fairy squinted her eyes with a smile, causing Yi Zichen to get goosebumps. Hurry up and act like a human, all right? Huh, you don't know how to flirt. Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth. Don't change the topic. You said that you developed this secret technique. Then why did I get it? Did you give it to me? Yi Zichen thought about what Blue Lotus Fairy said. She had been observing him for a long time, so he couldn't help but ask. I gave it to you, but I know you. All of a sudden, Blue Lotus Fairy's attitude changed drastically. The disdain in her eyes was so intense that she wanted to squeeze Yi Zichen to death. You were a domain-level noob when you got the secret technique. I'm a sovereign that has been famous for a long time. Do I know you? Friend, do you think that I, a sovereign, would care about a little fellow like you? Seriously, aren't you a bit too full of yourself? What a blow. Yet, Yi Zichen was unable to retort. That was the truth. Forget about Blue Lotus Fairy. Even he didn't mention that he was a deity when he became a divine king. He didn't have any interest in paying attention to a mortal junior. Even if he was extremely talented, Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered. It was like a theory. The people around rich people were all rich people. The people around martial arts experts were all martial arts experts. Every level would have a corresponding social circle. Then why did the secret technique end up with me? When we gave it to you, Blue Lotus Fairy said in disdain. Blue Lotus Fairy said in disdain, I originally wanted to give the secret technique to Wen Li for her own use. Who would have thought that she would be useless, allowing you to take advantage of it? I only started to pay attention to you after I found out that I gave it to you. To be honest, I really didn't like you at the start. You weren't handsome, and you didn't have the great Tao. You were weak, so I wanted to just kill my way to the Milky Way galaxy and get the secret technique from you. Blue Lotus Fairy, don't hurt my feelings too much. Yi Zichen coughed. Hey, don't mind it. That was just what I thought at the time. I still like you a lot now, don't I, child's father? Blue Lotus Fairy blinked shyly. Yi Zichen couldn't understand Blue Lotus Fairy's actions. He couldn't even tell when Blue Lotus Fairy was the real her. She had a split personality, right? His words and actions were all strange. So, you put me on the observation list for this secret technique? Yi Zichen brought the topic back. Of course. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't deny it. I know the secret technique. I developed the best. I believe you know very well what this secret technique represents. Even if it's the current you, as long as you can break through the defense of a supreme being, you have a chance of instantly killing him. Is this secret technique not worthy of a high reward? The prerequisite is that I have a chance to break through the defense. Blue Lotus Fairy really dared to give an example. I can tell it was indeed a secret technique she developed. She even used a supreme being as an example, which raised her secret technique by several levels. Instantly killing a supreme being. With the current Yi Zichen, he would probably be dead if she sneezed. I'm just giving an example. Why are you being so serious? Blue Lotus Fairy frowned. I merely wanted to express the importance of the secret technique, and you, who possesses it, will affect the future. It can't be said to affect, it's just that there's a certain chance of turning things around. What do you mean? Yi Zichen frowned. He could already smell danger. Since we've reached this point, then let me reintroduce myself. Blue Lotus Fairy revealed a serious expression, while her eyes were filled with seriousness. Su Yao, from the Second Universe. Chapter 3051. The Second Universe. Yi Zichen was momentarily speechless as he looked at the smiling Blue Lotus Fairy. She actually came from the Second Universe? Didn't Wen Li enslave everyone in the second universe? Why did Blue Lotus Fairy become a venerable in the first universe, and for 1,000 years? Did she know about when Lee's universe integration plan? If she knew, wouldn't she have informed the second universe? What the hell? Scared. A hint of a smile appeared in Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes as she looked at Yi Zichen and pursed her lips. How can you come from the second universe? The shock on Yi Zichen's face was obvious. He was truly shocked. How did you get here? Hey, what I have grasped is a heaven's path secret art. Blue Lotus deity frowned. What's so difficult about coming here? The universe construction of the second world, published by the Virtual World Corporation, is all supported by the secret technique I provided. Otherwise, how do you think you can come to the second universe? Gasp. Yi Zichen felt like his brain wasn't enough. The construction of the passage was done by Blue Lotus Fairy. That can't be right. The Virtual World Corporation has been building this game for far longer than 1,000 years. Are you an old hag that's tens of thousands of years old? Yi Zichen trembled, thinking of this possibility, and then thinking of Blue Lotus deity acting coquettishly with him. Chills ran down his spine. You're the old witch. Do you know how to talk? Blue Lotus Fairy General's face is somewhat displeased. As a gentleman, how can you say such words to a girl? I'm still young. I'm only 18. Zichen Gidge, aren't I still young? Ugh. Yi Zichen felt a bit nauseous. Hey, don't go too far. Blue Lotus Fairy retracted her coquettish act and rolled her eyes. Isn't Xia Kiki talking to you like that? Why don't you spit at her? That's my wife. Yi Zichen pouted. Your wife. TSK, don't overthink it. My real age is less than 10,000 years old. I'm not the old which you speak of. He's not even 10,000 years old. Is he that young? Will you die if you don't argue? Blue Lotus Fairy stares with her eyes wide open and shouts. Is a few thousand years old very old? When Li had lived for more than 100,000 years. Did you say that she had aged? Seriously, in the universe, a few thousand years is already considered very young. Okay? Also, the lifespan of Domain Realm Masters is almost limitless. Why are you looking at someone else's age? I realize that you really have a problem. Yi Zichen didn't even dare to make a sound after being scolded by Blue Lotus Fairy. No matter where they were, women were always sensitive to the topic of age. I was wrong. Yi Zichen knelt on the bed and apologized. Blue Lotus Fairy rolled her eyes at him, then snorted coldly. If I hear you talk about my age again, no one in the human race can protect you. You could try if you don't believe me. Yi Zichen truly didn't doubt the veracity of her words. From some of the information that Fairy Blue Lotus had given him, he could already feel that her position in the first universe was indeed somewhat extraordinary. Moreover, the people she had made friends with were all at the top level of the human race. Compared to Fairy Blue Lotus, Yi Zichen was nothing more than a newcomer who'd attracted a lot of attention. Thanks to the Master of the Galaxy, he'd made a name for himself among the human race. However, in terms of relationships, Yi Zichen might not be able to compare to Blue Lotus Fairy. I won't mention it. I definitely won't. Yi Zichen smiled coyly. Ha! Fairy Blue Lotus snorted coldly, then muttered. When Wen Li and the Milky Way Lord discovered the second universe, they did start on the fusion plan. Unfortunately, the Virtual World Corporation's technology was not enough, so the fusion plan couldn't be carried out. Then a few thousand years ago, I was born. I, who was favored by the great Tao secret technique since I was young, since Wen Li's enslavement imprint on the second universe. Thus, I followed the imprint and enslaved her. Yi Zichen's gaze tensed. Aya, she broke free in an instant. Blue Lotus Fairy quickly explained when she noticed Yi Zichen's expression. Phew! Only then did Yi Zichen let out a sigh of relief. That really scared me. He thought that when he was still enslaved by Fairy Blue Lotus. If that's the case, then would she say all that to enslave me as well? Even so, Fairy Blue Lotus being able to enslave Wen Li for an instant was already something to be proud of. That was a supreme being, the peak existence of the human race. How strong were you back then? Yi Zichen was curious. Me? I was just born. Did you even listen to me properly? Fairy Blue Lotus scolded. Of course, I was just a domain level when I was born. Just born? Enslaved when Lee's leader? Domain level? Then You can't enslave her now, Fairy Blue Lotus shrugged. Wenli was very vigilant. I was able to counter-enslave her because she was a bit relaxed. Now that she knows of my existence, she is constantly on guard against me. I can't enslave her. She's on guard against you? You even made the fusion channel for her? Yeah, our relationship is pretty good. Yeah, she's on guard against you? What's the big deal? It's always necessary to be on guard, Fairy Blue Lotus said casually. What's more, I came from the second universe, so we are on different sides. If it was you, would you dare to trust me completely? Before Yizichin could reply, Fairy Blue Lotus muttered, You probably would. I guess you really dare. You're quite silly. Fairy Blue Lotus's words were always so nice. In other words, you noticed Wenli and tried to counter-enslave her. After you succeeded, Big Sister Wenli also noticed you. That's how the two of you got to know each other. Then, you came to our universe through the Tao secret technique, and helped Big Sister Wenli's fusion plan. Yi Zichen said seriously. Uh-huh. Fairy Blue Lotus did not deny it. Lady Su Yao, is there something wrong with your brain? Yi Zichen was speechless. You're someone from the second universe. Don't you know that we from the first universe will fight for resources with the humans of the second universe when we go to the second universe? If you act like this in our home world, then you would be a traitor. Some things can't be done just because you think about it. Fairy Blue Lotus lowered her eyes. I also hope that my universe doesn't have any outsiders, but I can't stop it. The first universe is a mature universe and has way more experts than ours. Even if I don't help you, you can still go over. It's just a matter of time. If I help you, then I'll be able to fight for some benefits for the second universe. This is a method of taking a step back and having no other choice. Yi Zichen felt a deep sense of helplessness from Fairy Blue Lotus tone. It wasn't hard to understand her helplessness. The second universe had already been discovered. The Milky Way Lord, Wenli, Blue Emperor, and Venerable Spirit Phoenix had all been there. The other humans of the first universe could naturally go there as well. It was only a matter of time. If Fairy Blue Lotus didn't take the initiative to express her goodwill, then the humans might have taken it by force. But now, the humans might do it for Fairy Blue Lotus' sake. Slightly gentler. It was like a weak country facing the invasion of a strong country. They would take the initiative to become a vassal colony in order to protect their own people. In other words, the employees of a company would take the initiative to give gifts to their boss. All of this was the helplessness of the weak. The strong preyed on the weak. The laws of the universe. It had always been the same between universes, and it had always been the same between people. There had never been any change. Only by being strong could one have absolute authority